I think you guys have heard this song once before, maybe.
Blind man, right? This man, it was this blind man, right? He was spilling his way down the street with this stick,
Afro
right?
Man.
He walked past this fish market. You know what I'm saying?
Fish market.
He stopped. He took a deep breath. He said, "Good morning,
ladies."
You like that shit, man?
Pretty good.
Hey, man, I got a gang of that shit, man.
Hey, you
I
ought to
tell
get on
you, I
them
tell you what,
motherfuckers, man.
my man on the guitar, hey, cool on the drum.
Right.
Hey, everybody just crowd around the mic. I tell you all these motherfucking jokes I got.
Hey,
Hey,
this
clap
is
your hands, man.
motherfucker.
First, I'm gonna start off like this. Hey, help me sing it, homeboy. Come on. Said Coke 45 and 2 zigzags.
Dragon.
Baby, that's all we need. We can go to the park, tap the dog, smoke that tumbleweed. As the marijuana burn, we can take our turn singing them dirty rap songs. Stop and hit the ball like Cheech and Chong. It still takes from here to Hong Kong. So roll my joint. Pick out the seeds and stems. Feeling high as hell, flying through Palmdale, skating on decking rims. So roll the 83 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. If my tapes and my CDs just don't sell, I bet my caddy will. Well, it was just sundown in a small white town.
Palmdale.
Nice. Well, I figured it was appropriate.
Hey, yo, Afro. Yo, one-hit wonder.
He had a couple. He had like one other banger. What's up,
that's-
everybody? Welcome to Sunday.
Hey.
Burning with the boys. Burning with the boys.
Hail, everybody.
Hail,
Hello.
hail, Gabe. Okay, how are we doing this? This is the first slow burn of 2023. We on Rising from the Ashes are diving into ancient Celtic mysteries. So we felt it appropriate to touch on dragons, serpents, and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's dragons in every single folklore across the planet. So there's a lot to dive in. I'm sure everybody's got some juicy juice. But yeah, let's pass it over to Dan and see how Danny boy's doing over here. What you got going on here, sir?
How's it going? I don't got nothing going on.
Nothing.
No, nothing today.
What? You don't got no juice?
I just woke up from a nap, man.
Oh, you did. Oh, hey, that's what dragons do, man. Dragons be out here napping. All right. Well, that's really absolutely zero fun at all. But okay, I'm gonna share this small slideshow I got. Then we can dip into this, and you guys stop me whenever you guys want to chat on any of this stuff. We'll just be ripping it. Can you guys see the screen here?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, cool. Dragons. Woohoo. Here we are. Well, let's start off with the ancient Celts. For the Celts, the dragon is the guardian of the secrets and treasures of the universe. His belief is consistent with most of the Western mythologies. The difference is that while for many dragons guarded earthly treasures, gold and jewels, for the Celts, these treasures were associated with higher things. They're used as a symbol of power and wisdom among leaders. Dragons are seen on many coats of arms and on the Welsh flag as a heraldic symbol. The dragon varies greatly, especially the ears. The wings are always that of a bat. Its tongue and tail can be barbed or smooth. The wide draigulk, the red dragon on the Welsh flag, was derived from the great red serpent that had represented the Welsh god Dewi. King Arthur was one of the first leaders to use the red dragon. It was prominently shown on his helmet. Before the arrival of Christianity, dragons were seen as powerful creatures that were as natural to the world as the mountains. And after Christianity was introduced, dragons began to be cast in a different light. They became a symbol of trouble, strife, and infertility. It was said that dragons lay waste to the land and prevent growth. Priests began to use the dragon as a symbol of evil and of the devil. One of the most, which is funny because devil is evil with a D. So you get that dragon evil. One of the most popular stories about a dragon used by the church was that of St. George and the dragon. In the village of Wormingford, England, they were plagued by a dragon. They offered the dragon maidens to appease its appetite until finally the only maiden left was a princess. The village brought her out to where the dragon was tied up. They tied her up, and as they had done with the others, one version says that before the dragon could attack her, a knight riding by saw her plight and slew the dragon to rescue her. Another says that St. George was able to subdue the dragon and hold the village, that he would slay it and give up on their pagan ways, and they must become Christians. What do you guys got to say about St. George there?
Wow, that's cool.
St. George. Yeah. St. George is the patron saint of the Knights of Malta, right?
Is he? I actually not heard much about St. George ever before that story, to be honest.
He's the one that slayed the dragon.
You got it. Yeah, he's riding on a white horse, generally, and he's spearing a dragon under the hooves of the horse. Yeah, that's a very prolific image.
And is this technically under Roman Catholicism? Do we know?
I think so. Knights Templar. So yeah, very Catholic-based imagery.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? I think that's interesting because we still see a lot of serpent sort of dragon imagery within the Vatican and the Catholic Church. I'm sure a lot of you have seen, in the hall, the main hall where the Pope talks from. It's like a mouth of a serpent. So when do you think? Do you think there was like a transition of powers throughout time, or is it sort of the same entity that's just maybe flopping back and forth between symbolism?
I mean, personally, I'm definitely on the belief that dragons and serpents, they're kind of like commingled within symbology together. But some of the research I've been looking into shows that a lot of the dragons and the serpents were associated with like the matriarchal society and the higher echelons of spirit, and a lot of the associations are with sex, and sexual energy. And so definitely, there's a lot going on there. And when the power shifted, kind of like what that said in an exoteric viewpoint was, that dragons that were highly worshipped at one point, were basically kind of, brought into the cast of demons and devils, and but still, even though the Kundalini secrets are similar in the way of like, don't masturbate, don't climax, they tell you in the church that's evil. But Kundalini also kind of touches on the same thing where you can masturbate, but you don't want to actually orgasm, because the orgasm itself is said to have been the dragon energy, and facing that is what can give you the inner treasure that's guarded by that smoky cave.
So that's like the popes and stuff, they're not supposed to engage in sex, right? And yet they're like speaking from the mouth of a serpent. So is that kind of what you're maybe saying? Is like they're harnessing that energy in a different way?
I mean, that's what Kundalini is about. Now, do we know that the Pope is practicing Kundalini?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? Because that's like currently what's going on. Do you guys know the imagery I'm talking about? I can even show you just so the viewers know what I'm talking about. I have it here.
The serpent's definitely been demonized in the West on a lot of attributes, but in the East, it still remains pretty sacred.
Right, for sure.
You got your serpent, you got your dragon. The dragon's also been demonized in the West from the beginning. It's been associated with greed and like hoarding a treasure, stealing sacrifices.
Yes. In the constellations, there are many serpents. There's Draco, and Draco is a real good fit for the hoarding of treasure symbolically, because Draco rotates around the jewel that is Polaris. And so it is hoarding the gem or the treasure or the the cyclops. Even the word encyclopedia comes from that pole star orientation. So Draco is literally like surrounding and coiling around. It's also fulfills the name Yggdrasil. That's the lizard. The lizard's Drasil is lizard in backwards. So it's the lizard's yig. It's the egg of the lizard. So
The Orphic
all of
egg,
those,
eh?
yeah, all of those are lovely and fulfilled by Draco. But there are other serpents in the sky that fulfill other aspects of these myths.
And do you think
Scorpios, because sometimes associated or transmutively associated with transmutively is not a word, by the way, everybody. But the scorpion, the eagle, and the serpent, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Can you zoom in on that picture, Nomad?
Yeah, which one? The one that's
The Vatican one,
Yeah,
the
right
Vatican
there.
snake.
Yeah.
So the word Vatican translates to divining serpent.
Yep.
And it gets those roots go back to the Etruscans, who used to use the entrails of snakes to read the auguries, to divine future outcomes. And this is also
what specific parts of the innards of the snake do you know?
I'm not exactly sure, but I do know that they would use a plate, like a silver plate, to spill the entrails onto, and the plate itself had signs and symbols in the plate that would reveal what they're seeking out of the patterns, kind of like reading tea leaves. These are the augury readers. And the augury readers fascinate me considerably. I find them quite alive and well in many ways still today. You could maybe, we could attach this to the media, as the media is an infallible branch of the government that we don't elect them into their position. They're corporately placed. And, this is why we have Fox News. And this is why we have the peacock of, what is it? ABC has the peacock. Am I messing that up? CBS? Somebody's got a peacock in the news.
NBC?
NBC.
NBC.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
So yeah, they still use these divine animals as their totems, as their logos, because the augury readers, they also would see like unusual migration patterns of birds, or even a deer walking through the city where it shouldn't belong. And all of these things had deep and profound meaning to the augury readers, to the extent that this is from Chris Knowles. He was talking about how the name president is the master of ceremonies of the augury readers. That's where the word president comes from. He presides over the ceremonies of reading the auguries. And so when the king of Rome, if he would stumble on the stairs as he walks up to the Senate, the augury readers would demand that he would take extreme action. For example, he would withdraw from a military campaign because he stumbled on the stairs. And Chris Knowles dropped that little example right after Joe Biden stumbled on the stairs going up to Air Force One, and a week later he pulled out of Afghanistan. And our presidents, and our presidents are inaugurated. These are the auguries. They're reading the migration patterns of your vote. When you vote, they're reading your habits, your patterns.
I wonder if there's something symbolic there with like these weren't actually tearing open snakes, catching a snake and then reading it like tea leaves. I wonder if there was like something symbolic to be held there, like I'm curious if they meant like physical snakes or if there was something else metaphysically involved.
What was the Gabe? Were you saying there's some timing right now in relation to Draco?
Not that I can think of. I'm still kind of getting oriented as to how, like, what shape the Draco is making right now. That's a great question, though. If I was more savvy with like Stellarium, I might be able to bring something forward there, because
Yeah.
And one time a year we're at the head, and another time we line up with the tail. That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm curious because I feel like there's a lot of dragon energy right now. You have Ye going off about dragon energy. Trump's talking about dragon energy. Even people that Ye's aligning with talking about dragon energy. And Draco, as far as I understand, it's sort of where we also get draconian, right? Which is known for sort of that stricter sort of rules. And so, do you guys have any thoughts on that and that correlation?
Etymologically, dragon and Draco and Dracula and Draconian, they're all definitely tied together. So
Right.
the
Yeah.
dragon bloodline situation definitely falls in there, which
And then
falls in line with the Vatican as well.
Well, and I wanted to say real quick a follow up on that. The reason I bring that up is because I heard Ye say something about like, I don't know, they're essentially talking about wanting to make things very strict, like very strict under quote unquote Christian beliefs or whatever. And so I kind of see a similar thing rhyming, like history rhyming, where where Jesus is being used almost as a puppet or as a clout in a way to get people to get in alignment with these draconian measures. Just that's kind of what I'm seeing happening. I'm curious if anyone else sees that.
So, Nomad, would you think that Christian like rules or commandments are draconian?
I would say that Christ came and the way that he exemplified how to live was the law was made for man, not the man for law. So the law should be for us to benefit us, to show us, give us guidance on how to live and how to treat each other. But when you start making it draconian, where it's a slippery slope, right? Because then whoever's in power kind of decides what is important. So I think Christ came to give us the example of how to live and show us, but he wasn't like, you need to do this. Like the Bible says, God sent Jesus into this world to give us show us how to live abundantly, not to condemn the world. So that's very different, in my opinion.
I definitely think there's a strong draconian aspect to Judaism and Christianity. If you look back at the Tanakh, in the older part of the Judean scriptures, it shows that actually Yahweh, their God, was portrayed as a dragon to whom they would sacrifice goats by the hundreds. And he was said to have caused fear, and that people wouldn't follow the laws unless he was around, and they were scared to be punished of his fire. And
that's great insight.
He was portrayed as being a fire breather, but they said that his name actually represents the word representation of large nostrils.
Yeah, that's good, because in my opinion, I think again, those in my opinion, like fallen angels or false gods were sort of twisted and combined with Christ to try and deceive people and confuse people, and again use Christ's clout. I think the story of Jesus is so powerful that you can't get rid of it, and so all they can do is kind of muddy the waters, and that's kind of how I see it playing out. So that's a great point that you brought up. Thank you.
Yeah, the two words
I did watch
also used to portray great figures, gods, godlike men.
So.
I did watch a video about by Mr. Mythos, is the biblical Yahweh a dragon? And though I can't recite everything that he talked about, I did find like a seemingly decent unexplained mysteries post with people posting on there. And there's the guy left 15 different reasons why Yahweh can be considered a dragon. If you guys want to go into those, we can. Otherwise, kind of just base. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting.
Do it,
I would love
for
to.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I want to drop a little weave on the draconian question real quick. So Dracula was Vlad the Impaler. All of our presidents claim sanguinity to Vlad the Impaler. It is the bloodline of the Plantagenets.
Yep.
The Plantagenets is a reference back to the plant of Genesis, and the plant of Genesis is referenced in Genesis 3:22. This is why 3:22, skull and bones, is so sacred. It goes back to that particular verse in Old Testament, and it is referencing the difference between the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. And it is quite profound that we are in the year 223, which is the inversion of the skull and bones sacred number, hailing back to that Old Testament Genesis malarkey. And there is a very important difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament. You know, the New Testament should have put all things to rest in regards to the Old Testament. And yet we are seeing a lot of conflict bubbling up from that origin point, from that Old Testament agenda. So there is a very important difference between the old and the new. But yeah, this is the year where these questions will probably be coming up to the surface, and everybody's going to be, divided and conquered if they, you got two sides as usual.
What do you guys think?
dragon.
Do you think it's I've been finding it seemingly more important to try and get to the root of intent and people's or entities feelings and the resonance that they're giving off instead of the symbolism itself, right? Because I just feel like symbolism can be twisted so easily and misinterpreted. And so I don't know. Have you guys been feeling that at all?
I mean, absolutely. I think that's a big thing, is how it makes you feel. I mean, a lot of things are going to be you can symbolically and philosophically tell yourself anything of like whatever you're feeling, whatever you're perceiving, that is going to be interpreted symbolically in your way of understanding of what you know, how you know. But try to get as much insight on as much things as possible. If you're a curious person, you're generally going to have a bigger insight on what type of symbolic resonance something may have. I want to say, back on when you were asking, you feel like there's a lot of dragon things coming up. I think something with that too. I mean, the dragon symbolizes cycle and cyclical nature. And we're talking about Yahweh as like the ultimate God as a dragon. And what we read earlier about, the Celts believing that the dragons held the true higher knowledge. So God being then symbolically this dragon, like, he is the higher knowledge, that golden primordial gold, that sulfuric goodness within the center of the earth, the fire breathing, the primordial fire that is the center and the stronghold of our planet. And, we see a lot of cycles and things repeating themselves. And one of the slides I have, we'll get into later, thanks to Gabe, he sent me this video last night on weather patterns. California specifically 5 years ago. I wish it was 7, because the number 7 is absolutely associated with the dragon and the serpent. Like every time you read a dragon story in folklore, you're going to come across the number 7. That's because it relates to the chakras. But yeah, man, like we're seeing a lot of things repeating themselves. And, like even things like political parties repeating themselves. You're going to see that on a cyclical nature, having some Ouroboros type effect or some sort of dragon play there, because they're embodying the dragon bloodline by being in power. And, so there's like, I think there's the good dragon, there's the bad dragon, there's the dragon that had the good knowledge. And then there's that Western version of it. Like, we are the rulers, like we sit upon this pile of gold and no one's going to fucking touch it, because you're not allowed to, kind of thing. But that's my little rant on dragon energy now.
Yeah, I think also too, like with dragons, like there's that very like it's evil or type of thought process. But when you look at like seemingly the Eastern mysticism and whatnot, the dragon energy is good. Is even the serpent is usually profound and worshipped, and they believe it to be good. So I think it depends your perception on what side of the fence that you're on, if the dragon is good or bad. And like we know this from a lot of the topics that we had, everything is both. Nothing is inherently bad or inherently good. We always try to separate everything into superheroes and villains, but really, like it's a mix between the two. Even in our own personal lives, we are, a lot of us are both good and bad. We do bad shit and we do good shit. Um, like there's a saying like, show me a perfect person, you know. Like nobody is absolutely perfect. It's a hard thing to live up to. But yeah, I do have. Go ahead.
There's a lot of negative associations with dragons in the West, but there's a few positive ones from Greece. We have Pymander from Hermes, which is a great cosmic mind of all the universe, and it's foundational to some of his works. He wrote the Emerald Tablet, and the Divine Pymander was his second most formidable writing that he did. And the book tells us that Hermes was meditating. He gradually freed his higher consciousness from the bondage of his bodily senses. And as he left his body, behind him, he saw a very large figure, the great dragon, the Pymander. Its wings stretched across the sky. Light streamed in all directions from its body. The dragon revealed itself as Pymander, the mind of the universe, the creative intelligence, and absolute emperor of all. Hermes then asked Pymander to disclose the nature of the universe. Immediately, the form of the dragon changed, and there was a great radiance of light. Then came a great darkness, through which drifted a watery substance. Then out of the imprisoned light came the words spoken by the dragon, who pulled the light out of the darkness, and thus it was said, the words, the worlds below and the worlds above were created. And so that's interesting that they portrayed the dragon in Hermeticism, because I know in alchemy, the inner dragon is considered to be the ego, which you have to battle through the process of ascension.
Interesting.
Yes, that definitely goes into what our boy Bird Dog said here with like knowing the dragon's name. If you know the dragon's name, if that's your inner ego or if that's your shadow, then that gives you that first step to being able to actually go against it and start to claim your own truth.
Right, and that is the message of intent, right? That's what essentially what I was saying is we need to learn how to see the fruit of these creatures, of these symbols, of these entities. Like, what is the fruit that they're bearing? Is it good fruit? Yeah,
know your demons.
That's a great.
So Pymander,
that's gonna come up in this Yahweh thing too.
Pymander has quite a few fun anagrams, but one of which is in, like the letter in, pyramid. In
that's fun.
Pymander. Yeah. P-Y-R-A-M-E-D.
Dragon in the pyramid.
In pyramid.
Wow.
Pantheon seemingly sounds like Python.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
you said there's a couple
not
on
like
Pymander.
Etymologically, it's not. I don't think they're related, but they, there's that correlation where they sound similar.
Yeah,
correlation.
Etymology on the dragon ties back to the Greek drakon, which apparently drak means to see clearly, which they think ties back to they say having seen light clearly, but they think it ties to the one with the deadly glance.
Huh. Interesting.
Okay. All right. So that is absolutely Algol. It's the eye of chaos. This is the Gorgon's eye of Medusa.
Whoa.
And it is in the hand of Perseus. He's holding the head of Medusa. And so that constellation is in Aries, the pagan new year, the pagan initiation of the year, over at 322. 322 is the day after the summer or the spring equinox. So that's a nice lead. I love that you said that. Death at a glance. And I'm just gonna drop this real quick. The word tarot card in reverse spells out drak to rat. And this is an old weave from a long time ago. I'm skipping a lot of details here, but drak to rat in the Chinese zodiac is a 9-month cycle. It goes from the drak is in Aries, the initiation of the year, and it rotates around to the rat is Capricorn, or it may be Sagittarius, but it's a 9-month cycle. And so tarot cards in reverse is a birth cycle of the Chinese zodiac.
Damn,
Cool.
that's pretty deep. It's this real weird quick sync was this survival game Draconia, talking about dragon energy of 2022, and you just brought up 322 Skull and Bones. This game came out on 322 because the ones you can cancel those puppies out.
I would actually ask
No, you
real
can't.
quick,
Yeah, you can.
Gabe, if you end up looking into this, I would wonder if there's any correlation actually in 2024. I think there's going to be a lot more talk. I think we're almost like leading up to it. Anyways, just had a random thought there when Romie was going over those dates.
Yeah, 2024 is going to be
It's going to be some shit.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
Interesting.
Let me get into these because I think this will give us a lot of talking points. Also,
yes.
This is from Unexplained Mysteries. This guy says Draconic Chronicler. Before this is about the idea of Yahweh being a dragon. Before dismissing this outhand, I would ask everyone read the whole post and read it from the premise that Yahweh and Elohim, the actual creator, are two separate entities, as many serious biblical scholars have proposed, with Yahweh actually being the one many Ben Elohim, which also includes the creature Satan, long associated with flying serpents and dragons. I repeat, I'm not proposing that God is a dragon, but that the creator Elohim created dragons as assistants that have been mistaken as our gods around the world, including the watcher dragon of the Hebrews, Yahweh, who through a misunderstanding of scripture is now worshipped by most Christians and Jews as the actual creator. Here are the facts. 1. The highest heavenly creatures are called seraphim, a word which the highly esteemed and scholarly Jewish encyclopedia states means fiery flying serpent, though medieval Christians have transformed these dragons into the more familiar swan-winged cartoon angels of popular culture. When the ancient Jews translated the word seraphim into Greek, the word they used was drakon, which is the word our modern dragon is derived from. 2, the only graven image idol Yahweh ever permits is that of a fiery flying serpent, obviously his personal image. This image has supernatural powers, and Yahweh allows it to be freely worshipped in Solomon's temple. As soon as the idol is broken, disaster befalls Israel, and it has never recovered until the late 20th century. The flood story of Genesis is believed by most biblical scholars to be a retelling of near identical yet far older Sumerian versions in which the god named Enlil, who is also subservient to a greater creator god, is called the great serpent dragon of heaven. His hymns also associate him with rainbows. As we see in Genesis, he is called the good shepherd, the rainbow serpent. Gabe, do you have any juice on the rainbow serpent?
Wasn't Enki the one determined? Yeah, I don't, because Enlil was the Lord of the Sky, and is more depicted as a bird, right?
Yeah, it's associated with like a sea serpent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's got the Quetzalcoatl thing going on with that rainbow aspect as well.
Yep.
And
yep. Plume serpent, rainbow serpent. Yeah.
Like fish scales can look like a rainbow. Maybe dragon scales as well.
Yeah, I was blown away the first time I did deep sea fishing, and we caught a awesome sized tuna, a gorgeous specimen. I did not know that those beautiful fish are flashing rainbow colors to communicate. So when we pulled the fish in, I was utterly mesmerized. I mean, totally entranced by this fish's ability to just radiate various colors like it was crying out. And then we killed it, and it turned gray. And it was delicious.
Oddly enough, yeah.
Fish and serpents are very similar. I mean, the way that they lay eggs, their skin, their eyes, the way they move, they're legless, and so they are very similar, and so that's why I think you get a lot of cross correlations in folklore about like serpents and fish being together. I think they're definitely more similar than they are different.
Absolutely.
Well, right before this, someone just sent me a photo of a eel that they had just seen, which it was literally just like a serpent in the water,
Oh,
just moving around.
Yeah, seen
Right.
lots of eels. I've swam with eels, and they fucking freak me out. I've also swam with barracudas, not knowing they were barracudas. Yeah, the water.
That's
Yeah, and also let's not forget
Barracuda.
that the another name for God or Yahweh was El.
Yeah.
So the eel in the L has a real strong connect.
Yes.
That's
I
true.
love
Yeah,
that.
good one.
I love that.
Some
Let's keep
scholars
going.
acknowledge that the name Yahweh comes from the Canaanite dragon god Yah, who, like the biblical Yahweh, is a god of storms and floods, but is a son of the true creator Elohim, also the name of the creator in Genesis, not Yahweh. Virtually every world culture had identified the winged intelligent dragon as a real creature, and most of the earliest cultures recognize it as the creature that brought them knowledge of agriculture and technology. This is also true in the Judaic legends with the reptilian watchers. In Exodus, Yahweh leaves his dragon sized tent and flies ahead of the Israelites to burn away impassable barriers and scorpions, or briars and scorpions. He marks the route by spewing smoke and fire. Yahweh plops his huge dragon body in the bed of the Jordan River upstream to divert its flow so the Hebrews can cross its bed to attack Jericho. He is specifically described spewing fire from his mouth and smoke from his nostrils, exactly like the dragon Leviathan that the Bible states he plays with. A female dragon? Many biblical passages imply that Yahweh physically consumed his meat offering, unlike the fake gods of the other cultures. The Bible is very specific that Yahweh wanted salt on his meat as well, suggesting these offerings were physically consumed and not merely burned to ashes. Like many legendary dragons, Yahweh occasionally consumes humans as well, to include two of Aaron's sons who prepared a sacrifice wrong. In Scripture, Yahweh demanded the firstborn of all Israelites, but the Bible says it was possible to pay him money instead on a sliding scale, also indicating the universal dragon love of hoarding treasure. The preferred prey of dragons in most cultures is human virgins. For reasons which are not entirely understood, this trait is very apparent in the Bible as well, where Moses presents Yahweh with 32 Midianite virgins after the Israelite destruction of his tribe. No more is said of them, so we can only assume they were consumed like Aaron's sons. The Persian Zoroastrians, whom share much religious doctrine with Christianity, clearly state in their own scriptures, the Denkard, that the God of Judaism and Christianity, who watched of the Israelites and proved their laws, was a dragon, and brother to the dragon Ahriman. In their own religion, interestingly, the storm dragon of Sumeria who flooded the world happened to be the brother of the dragon Enki, who livied the Garden of Eden and who tricked a man named Adam out of eternal life. Yes, the dragon or the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Some Christian Gnostics also state Yahweh is a dragon in their scriptures. Jesus stated the Pharisees were worshiping a creature that was not his father. Many Christians claim Jesus meant Satan, but this does not make sense, for the Jews clearly worshipped Yahweh and clearly recognized Satan as a distinctly different creature, which they definitely did not worship. Could Jesus have been referring to the Yahweh dragon? After all, he did not call to Yahweh from the cross, but to El. The first paragraphs of the Bible show these are two different entities, for El's creation story is completely different from Yahweh's, far less scientific one. Yahweh is described with feathers, as depicted on most of the most ancient dragon wings, and this idea lasted until medieval times, after which dragons became less commonly seen. Saphira in Aragon is reminiscent of these ancient dragon depictions and probably
Sophia.
inspired the design of this character. Actually, there's enough evidence of Yahweh being a dragon to literally fill a book, as it indeed has in my upcoming one of these of this precise subject DEs. But thought this is an adequate amount of biblical facts to gender an interesting discussion.
Okay,
Also, I
hold on.
want to know.
Can
Yeah,
I
hold on,
pause
let
you
me-
real? I got it. There's so
Get
many
in there.
ingredients.
Get in it.
I just real
oh.
quick, because we got feathers, we got books, we got virgin births. All these things are ingredients of the Hydra constellation. The Hydra constellation, the tail is in Libra, where you weigh the heart against a feather. So there's a feather on the scales of Libra, and the Hydra expands all the way across Virgo. So the virgin birth, and then he said, this is enough to fill many books. That's Libra, the library. Like even his side comments fulfill the prophecy of Hydra being this sacred Yahweh serpent god. Okay, I just had to put that out because it's all stacking up and I'm losing track of all the indicators. This is clearly Hydra. This is not Draco he's talking about. And this is why it's important to know the difference of the different serpents in the sky.
The
And
two
it is
dragons.
the biggest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is Hydra's form like? Hydra has multiple heads or something, right?
Mythologically, yes. Yep. It'll split heads, divide up. But go ahead, Dan. Sorry, I just had to. Like when you
Go ahead.
No. You keep riffing. I was just saying, like the two dragons. It comes into like the bloodline topic. Also, the two dragon bloodlines of Enki and Enlil. Enlil's children and Enki's children. It's kind of an interesting one to me because it seems like throughout like all the stories and mythology, it's actually Enki's children that take over and become the kings, while Enlil and his children kind of are off just frolicking around and fucking off. So it's kind of interesting because then they kill Enlil in Babylon, and he doesn't last very long. I think Marduk ends up killing him and then becoming king himself. And then Marduk is Enki's son. This kind of goes into my idea that Yahweh and Marduk are the same entity and come from the Sumerian or Canaanite pantheon.
Yeah, they used to go as El in Babylon too.
Yeah.
Doesn't it kind of seem like there were these seraphim or these entities that were here at one time that were all kind of fighting with each other, all claiming to be gods?
Some might say it's,
seemingly those two bloodlines are just battling over Earth, and all the humans they're just using as their pawns for their wars. I mean, even look at today. I mean, you can almost say the same thing.
Yeah, and I think they do have that wisdom from God that they brought down with us, and that's why they're able to sort of, trick people into thinking they are gods, and that's why they are known as being wise. The Bible says, be wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves, right? And so I think that there's a lot of correlation there.
That's a feathered serpent right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what that imagery is representing, right? It's like how you balance those two energies.
Yo, straight up. Absolutely. I love all this. It's I don't know why I'm talking.
That's also the caduceus is the two serpents going up the pole, and that has many connotations to your spine and to your energies flowing through your body, just like in the Eastern mysticism. But if you take it into like this typical like bloodline battle or whatever, then it's the two snakes interweaving and they're fighting over your consciousness. So
there's lots of there's what's interesting about the body of Abraxas, how it's like depicted as a rooster and the bird on top and the two serpents on the bottom, almost being like it comes from unity and splits into the two kind of serpentine bloodlines, like you're saying.
Mother of
and
dragons.
Yeah, the mother of
Starbucks,
dragons.
right?
Oh,
Come on, Slick.
no,
Come
yes.
on,
I
Dave.
mean,
Yeah,
Melusine,
man.
Melusine, that's a story. Kind
Yep.
of dragony, kind of serpentine-y. I have one
Totally.
of those stories with oh god, what's her name here? I got it right
It's
here.
the Starbucks chick.
That should be their new drink, the Serpentini.
Yeah.
Slurping on the serpentini.
Is there Starbucks that serve alcohol?
Yeah.
There
Oh,
is?
that's a trip.
I don't
Well,
think so.
I don't know,
Is
but
there?
they
there
started
are, for sure
they
in
started
Seattle at least.
they started serving up vaccines during the lockdowns. They're on
What?
board. Yeah, they're on
They'll serve
board. Bill,
anything.
yep, they got Bill Gates contracted, and they were going to start giving tests in the drive-through, and they were even contemplating giving the poke, which is so profound considering Melusine's connection to the Medusa,
Oh,
to the
there she is.
Right here.
Echidna family line.
This is the story of the Echidna with
Yep.
Hercules.
Yes.
It's the same figure, though. It's the mother of dragons.
Yeah,
mother of all
Melusine.
monsters.
Yeah, it's the same kind of. But this specific, I was going to read the story on Hercules, how he made love with this woman and had 3 kids, and then had birthed the father and the kings of Scythia.
And by the way, Hercules is right next to Hydra. They're just,
oh shit!
They're basically, they're getting it on in the sky.
Well, they both got the H. Hercules, Hydra, Haffy,
Right.
Hermaphie, Haffy,
Nice.
Hermaphie, Haffy.
which the H is it's a ladder, it's a bridge, and it's could be if you twist it, it becomes the double helix. And
Hermetic.
Echidna, the last 3 letters are DNA. Echid DNA.
Oh shit! A kid DNA. Oh, E kid. Whoa.
ECH.
And
IDNA.
Hercules was from the tribe of Dan.
Right.
Oh,
And,
straight up.
Yeah,
12th
they
a day?
make a big deal about what kind of blood you got, what your DNA tracks to. DNA, DAN. It's even the feet.
This story itself is just a story kind of glossing over the fact that his fairy or fae folk blood, from that realm, birthed. So she really is. So it would it if he is from like this light, if he's from like the 12th of day, or he's from the this like light realm, this god realm, does that make her the hominid human figure in that? And then that's how the bloodline was brought, because it's usually like the gods will sleep with like these, even though she's got serpentine legs, is she of earth, and these Hercules is from another dimension?
Yeah, wasn't it the case that Hercules poses a swan to like seduce Hercules' mother?
Zeus.
Yeah.
Zeus. Yeah.
How does Ophiuchus play into this? Isn't he grabbing a serpent in the sky as well?
He's right next to Hercules.
Are they grabbing the same snake?
No. Ophiuchus is holding on to Serpens Caput.
I actually have an image, Romie, if you want to throw it on the screen.
So is that like, because it goes Libra, then Scorpio directly after that,
right?
So is that like a double serpent? Because if Hydra's right here into Libra, going to Scorpio, Scorpio goes to Ophiuchus, it's like a little secession line of a serpentine story.
I like that story. I like that a lot. So you could think of Ophiuchus as one of the serpents and Hydra as the other one. I like that a whole lot because they roll right into each other.
Oh, okay. All right. Can we zoom in on this image at all?
And also, Ophiuchus is like a forefather of healing and medicines. And also a symbol of using serpents to divine future outcomes. So he's
a 13th horoscope or something.
Yeah.
Yes, the third. Yep, he's called the 13th He's the 13th
Zodiac.
constellation, but he's not the 13th sign. And that's an important distinction. People oftentimes want to make a 13th zodiac sign out of him, but he only has 5 degrees on the ecliptic. So he's but the initiation of his stepping onto the ecliptic, the foot that is touching the ecliptic, it initiates on JFK Day. November 22nd is the initiation of Ophiuchus. And so the JFK ritual, the JFK ritual was a Orpheus ritual. And Jackie was playing the role of Orpheus, and JFK was playing, I believe it's Persephone or his loved one who he has to leave in the underworld. So when Jackie is coming off of the car after JFK is shot, she looks back at him one last time, and everybody's heart is ripped out of their chest. It's so tragic and heartbreaking. Well, that's exactly, if you read the moment when Orpheus looks back, they drag that moment out and they rip your heart out in the story. It's just heart-wrenching, absolutely correspondent to the JFK ritual, which was done on the symbol of Lyra and Ophiuchus. So that's Lyra is the harp that Orpheus plays, and they were playing our heartstrings in that ritual.
Well, Lyra is a lyre. Sounds like lyre, which is another word for stringed instrument, right?
Yeah.
What were we just something was reminded me supremely of when you brought up the 5 degrees left, that it only shares that 5 degrees of succession. Sounds a lot like that story of how we got the time from the calendar for Hermes when he went to go on that battle, and then he got that extra 5 days, right? Put on it. So is that like a Hermes Ophiuchus connection?
Dang, that's cool. I love it.
Hell yeah.
To me, I would say like Ophiuchus is like the serpent of man, or the serpent giving man knowledge, the wisdom. You could kind of relate that to the Enki story of how he gives mankind the knowledge, and then the Hydra, the other dragon, is pure dragon, right? He's pure
fire
reptilian, and so that's like the other bloodline. Yeah.
Wow, I love this. I just want to say that 5 extra days, that's the difference between a 360-degree circle and a 365-day year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really fun.
And there's that story that Indy brought up when we did our little calendar episode, that story of how that time was created and how Hermes went to go on that battle and reclaim that 5 days. So yeah, there is something significant there, because it should be. But the cosmologies and like the astrological cosmologies have changed so much, like just variations on the slight, just percentage, just dot by dot over the past centuries. So I'm no fucking astrologer, so I can't really talk on it. But
it almost seems like Sorry, I was gonna say, it almost seems like to me he's taming the dragon, right? Or that serpent energy. So he's using it. It's the 13th sort of astrological. Sorry, not the sign, but what did you say, Gabe? Constellation. So it's kind of like the end, right? Like you've kind of finally tamed the dragon, if you will. Not destroyed the dragon, but you've incorporated it finally, right? He's almost like riding the dragon.
Yeah, and then like if you think about it too, it's hidden, right? It's hidden in the constellation.
Right, the
so
occulted.
it's occult. It's this hidden knowledge that you can't get unless you know about it.
Right. And he has a what's called an asterism. It's like a little constellation inside of a constellation, and it's shaped like a coffin. And it's a very clearly a coffin. And so this is probably the coffin that Set tricked Osiris to get into. It's also the reason why Halloween, and we celebrate, the thinning of the veil right there as we go from October into November. Very significant that there's a coffin at the Halloween marcation.
It kind of the shape almost looks like an obelisk with like a line coming out of it. The constellation.
I love that. Oh, there's so much here. So, yeah, Oh man,
Obelisk it.
you nailed it. There's a lot to that because I so many stories. I get them all confused. I don't even know the origin of this story, but apparently Isis, part of her seeking out the missing pieces of Osiris is that he gets his missing phallus gets embedded into a tree, or
shit.
and then a culture plants that tree and it becomes their world tree, and
Wow.
and Isis has to infiltrate the culture and be very cordial and dance around their cultural norms to win them over and get them, kind of trick them into giving her one wish or one favor. And her one wish or favor is, I really want that tree, that pillar, that sacred pillar of your culture. And so they give it to her, and they don't know that inside of it is the last piece of Osiris.
Holy shit! I've never heard that dissertation before in my life. That is
made
epic.
like a golden trouser snake and just made it work.
That's why it's often referred to as your wood, right? I guess that's where we get it.
Badass.
Wow.
I mean, where else would it have come from?
No, but seriously, that is I mean, yeah, well, I guess, yeah,
Your wormwood.
You know what? That was I know where I heard that, and I'll link it later tonight. It's from Exertus, from his breakdown on Star Wars. And it's almost a 3-hour breakdown on Star Wars, and it's somewhere in the middle, and it's priceless. He did such a good job. I'll try to link that later in the night.
Nice. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, I got a couple slides I want to share here. Got some the story of Iceland is pretty fucking fun. Let's see here. Let me just get a little Sherry. Let me call my auntie Sherry up. So, one of the cool things I found while looking up dragons and etymology and symbolism and stuff is that they were called worms for a long time. Worms. And so you got different awesome stories like Solomon's worm, the worm of Shamir, and these different mystical worms of the ancient past, which are either they're talking about like snakes, serpents, dragons, or worms. So then I found a bunch of stories on mystical worms, and I was like, this is weird, but here we are. Icelandic folklore. Master Stoorworm is one of the most prominent dragons in Celtic mythology. Master Stoorworm was a gigantic sea serpent who always ate too much, and every morning he would yawn 7 times. The town that this always happened near became tired of this because when he yawned, his tongue would dart out and snatch up 7 random things from the town. A meeting was held, and it was decided that anyone who slew the dragon would get to marry the king's daughter. A group of men came forth to try, but were frightened by Master Stoorworm, after which a young boy took an iron pot and some peat. He stole a boat and went out into the ocean to wait for the dragon to wake up. When the dragon yawned the first time, the boy and the boat were sucked into the dragon's mouth. The boy paddled down the dragon's throat until he reached its liver. He used the peat and the iron pot to set the liver on fire, and as Master Stoorworm writhed in pain, the boy was able to paddle out. The dragon's teeth fell out as he struggled, becoming islands. After Master Stoorworm died, his body curled up and became Iceland. So that's the birth of Iceland, I guess. And then this next story is from this really cool Irish author on some pretty deep dragon dives. So I'm gonna do this one and I'm done with this. Yes, sir. Well, what's up?
Real quick, homie. Iceland's flag, their national flag, is pretty interesting to research and look into. There is a whole theory out there that Iceland is the covert lost capital of Rome. Rome never fell; it just moved to Iceland and laid low, and it's still they're still running the show from up there. And like the Coca-Cola logo is clearly the Icelandic flag. That's why we were giving sentimental energy to the polar bear issue with global warming, because it's their national animal is the polar bear. So Iceland is sus as a mofo. They got a new religion popping up over there that I think you
Wow.
know about, Dan. That I can't even pronounce it. It's occulted by an impossible name. That's not the flag I'm thinking of. The flag of Iceland.
It says Iceland flag.
Iceland flag. That's
Iceland
not the
coat of
one.
arms.
Flag of Iceland?
I mean, I
Are you
think
thinking
we
of
all
the
can
Switzerland
agree.
flag?
No, Iceland flag should be a red field on top of a white background with a circle in the middle. None of those.
Maybe they have an older flag in it. There, right there, over on the right.
Wow, that is so wild. I'll try to dig it out. Maybe it's I wonder what's going on with that. So I'll try to dig it out so we can clear that up.
We've been bear stained.
Yes, and then there's the polar bears, which are the two dippers, are Ursa Major and Minor.
Oh yes. I think we could all agree that sketchy shit has all moved to the north, like north of Norway and those little islands right outside of Greenland and Iceland up there. Like they're running some crazy science experiments up there and have like, the big seed banks and everything too. Super sketch. There's a lot of crazy shit going on up there. I think it's because, there's difference in gravity, up there, and like you're probably more electromagnetic power to tap into, like if you're running a bunch of different processors and heavy computer where you're going to need a lot more fucking power. And one of the secret esoteric goodnesses of not needing or creating your own power and lying to everybody about how we could have sufficiently get electricity is that you can just fucking harness it yourself and build hadron colliders and shit and fucking dimensions.
I stand corrected. It's the Greenland flag.
Oh.
Yeah, that is so far. I've been wrong for a very long time on this. And now I got to see it.
Well, that's classic. They got you. That's why they flipped him, right? They wanted everyone to think that Iceland was Greenland and Greenland was Iceland. So
they Mandelaed me. I got Mandelaed. Let's see if
this is tight. What is that? I like that. I'm gonna get that flag.
I've heard that this flag is the enmity between the seeds, like Inky and Enlil, the dragon and the fallen ones attracted to the redheads and the bloodline. That's the line between the blood. All right. So yeah, this is the Coca-Cola.
It's completely hermetic too. It is actually I kind of like it.
It's a Pokeball.
Nice. Oh my god. Holy shit.
You got to catch the Charmander. What was it?
You gotta catch them all.
Dude, Charmander is a dragon, bro. Oh shit.
Yeah, well, what was the actual one? It was Parmander or something, or like
Charizard.
Pymander.
Charmander, second evolution.
Okay, yeah, and it is Greenland's national animal is the polar bear. I've been fucking that up for a year and a half.
Charmeleon, Charizard.
Oh yeah. There's another fire lizard Pokemon.
Dratini.
God damn it, I can't believe we're doing this. Oh, Dratini? All right, man, fuck these fools, man. Let me finish this story.
Dragonite.
Yeah.
Dragonite, listen up.
Garchomp.
Shit is tight, son. This author is epic. Because he's a true Irishman, okay? And he knows about dragons and from his secret daddies from down the line, feeding him spoonfuls of sugar and information. Anyways, here we are. I was able to tell the young ones a story of the 2,000-year-old dragon in Dublin's Hill. Dublin's dragon was called Eric by the Catholic scribes. And this is an old Irish word that does actually mean dragon. We are told that Eric was a Glenasmole Valley, and he battled the great warrior Finn McCool, who comes from Rathcoole, as the southwest side of Dublin. Elsewhere, we are told that Finn himself wore a wide belt with many dragons carved on it. Some parts of the story being told to the children had been left out. The because it would be too confusing for their tiny young minds. Finn probably did not fight any dragons as he honored them proudly, displaying them on his belt. When the true nature of the dragon as the life force or subtle energy of the earth is understood, Finn has a very wrong with the written history of the dragons in Old Ireland. But the thing that is not wrong is that where the dragons in Old Ireland, the thing that is wrong that is written about the history is corrupt. That is a confusing fucking sentence. Sorry. Confuse the shit out of me. Anyways, the middle of the earth is dragons. We know this, swirling around inside the core. Then I spoke about Corathanach, the dragon of St. Patrick was supposed to have banished, with many images of Irish dragons from the Book of Kells being projected onto a screen. I managed to maintain the children's attention and interest at a high level. Corathanach means the ram's headed, a spiral horned serpent. For this, I pointed a finger at each of my temples and moved my fingers in a spiral and said, make spirals to the children. As they made their spirals, I also got them to say, Corathanach. I also told the story of Saint Columba, who, after being self-exiled from Ireland for causing deaths of 20,000 soldiers in battle near Sligo, went to Scotland. And because of this, the first story of the Loch Ness Monster was written, telling us that Columbia or Columcille banished the Loch Ness Monster. But hang on a bit. The Catholic of Columba, a book called The Battle of Columba, has a dragon's head as a capital letter Q. Q from the Catholic of St. Columba.
Nice.
It's Quail Man.
It's fun stuff. Quail Man?
So-
From Doug.
Man of Quail.
Bro, that's
Oh,
wild.
from that
That's a
cartoon?
wild connection. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I do love Doug. I love me some patty mayonnaise.
Oh, shit. Oh, this is
Oh, shit. What's happening, baby?
this is Nergal. I wanted to share this because we were talking about the cosmology earlier of this Scorpion, Scorpio, and this is a deity, I guess, in a way. He has he's holding the three-headed Cerberus, and there's a scorpion up in the right, or to his left, right. He has red hair, a red beard, and he
Is this
has
Odin?
no. He has
His
snakes
eye looks
over
like
his
Odin.
feet. He has snakes over his feet,
Nice.
and then there's another scorpion there too. And then there's an eagle perched on top of his head.
Oh, straight up. Can you zoom in a little bit? got the three-headed
I don't
dog?
think so. How can I?
You'd
zoom
have
in?
to maybe like, do you have a Mac or PC?
That's it. That's as far as I can go.
Nice. Sweet.
But we're talking about how
Yeah, it looks like
Ophiuchus is between Scorpio and Libra, right?
Yeah.
To me, this is a representation of Ophiuchus, and also of the tribe of Dan, with the eagle, the serpent, and this female figure over here being Danu, or any type of female deity that you want to call it.
I dig it.
Basically, the mother.
What's the god's name on this, or the deity that's attached to this glyph here?
Nergal.
That's awesome.
They're
What up,
all-
bird dog?
What up?
What's up, everyone? Man, it's a true honor to be here with you legends. Slick Dissonant. You know, I know Dan, Dan wants to beat me up in the comments. You know what I mean? What's up, Dan? How are you, bro?
What's up, dude? I don't want
No,
to
you
beat
guys-
you up. I was joking, man.
Oh, I know. I was joking too. I'm horrible at
Okay.
giving jokes and comments, and I'm horrible at reading them. I'm like, what are we doing here?
I'm like,
But,
fight me right now. You want to fight? I'll fight you right now. I don't care.
dude, we're talking dragons,
Okay.
baby. I'm that
Hey,
talented.
baby, dragons. Yeah.
I'll play the dragons. But yeah, Romie, you're the man. Indigo Sage.
What's happening,
Nomad
man?
with the silent G. They always got silent G's. But dude, Slick, you are not off on the Iceland thing. Look up the coat of arms.
Yeah, I
And
just looked it up.
you'll see the dragons. You'll see a bull. You'll see like other stuff.
Right.
There's a bull or like an ox or something like that in the on next to a dude. I just searched like original Iceland flag and it brought up coat of arms. Yeah, that coat of arms. See that bull?
Oh, yeah, it's got eagle above the bull.
Yeah, so you were not off, dude.
Right on, man. Yeah, thanks for pointing it out, because like one of those dragons is clearly feathered, and the other one is more scaly. You know.
Eagle. It's an eagle and a dragon. Yeah.
I dig it. I really dig it. That is a crazy coat of arms.
Wow.
So was the Thunderbird, is that totally different, or is that perhaps the feathered serpent versus the scaled serpent?
Oh,
I can't speak too much on the Thunderbird just because like but go ahead, sir.
Yeah, many people believe of dinosaurs to have been lizards, but some say that they have feathers. I remember later on scientists saying that they had found large lizards, dinosaurs with feathers on them, and perhaps they evolved when there was colder climate to begin having feathers, because birds are somewhat associated with like having reptilian features also. So having a large thunderbird could be seen as like a newer representation of a dragon.
Yeah.
Just a very large flying bird, like a pterodactyl with feathers.
Oh, gross.
Well, that's what's usually at the top of the totem, right? And so for me, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's like your sort of ascension. You've sort of made that transformation.
Well, the eagle has that that's kind of symbolism of being closer to God, because it's high, it flies high in the sky. And so by being like an eagle, you have you have that closer connection to God.
Right.
There's the firebird, or firevum. The firevum is another aspect of the dragon. I remember watching a decode of, I don't watch too many Hollywood decodes anymore because I'm kind of over it, but of the Red Dragon movie with Hannibal Lecter, and they just broke down like dragons and all this just dystopian, and you already mentioned draconian. You already broke that down, but you know they broke down red dragons and how it is just so prevalent, and say it seems like everything leads to the Vatican when it comes to this type of stuff. You know, this sorcery.
Yep. And the red dragon, his tattoo was William Blake's art. Very famous image that was in that in that film. And William Blake was like almost has his own occult movement just based on his works. That's a life worth of research to wrap your head around what William Blake was laying down. And I want to mention the word Thunderbird. It just kind of, I can't help but hear the underbird, which it kind of hits a note for me, because in the South Pole, there is an unusual amount of bird constellations. So when I hear Thunderbird, I often think of like the underbirds, because birds go south in the winter, So again, those readers of auguries would attribute the South with divine aviation imagery, we'll say.
Dude, do we think, like, when you throw in Leviathans and stuff, do we think the dragons all are elemental? Like, in all of my fantasy nerd books, a lot of the dragons were somewhat elemental. So just on the surface,
they'll have ice dragons.
Dragons. There's fire dragons, obviously. There's water, Leviathan, serpents. Is this related to this mythos, or?
Well, yeah, I would say that Leviathan may have
Water.
much to do with the largest serpent in the sky that there is, and that is the Milky Way. That the Milky Way creates a band, a massive band, and it's like an open chasm. You can think of the Milky Way because it has a dark gap in the center, and then kind of illuminated gases above and below. So you can think of the Milky Way as like an open chasm or an open wound in the sky that is almost, I think of that as the actual python, that the Pythias were breathing in the fumes of this dead serpent and being able to prophesize. Well, I think that is also analogous to the Milky Way, which is a giant snake in the heavens.
Why do they always
Yeah,
gotta
straight up.
like Dan was mentioning virgins? Why they gotta mess with virgins, man? Leave the virgins alone, guys. Come on.
Purity.
Yes.
It's purity. It's renewal through the pure blood.
Well, and
And-
also, like, if the dragon symbolism of the orgasm, like we were talking about earlier with Kundalini energy,
Yes.
if you haven't had an orgasm, then you still hold within that initial energy that has never been unleashed, that true source that it comes from, like the purity that they speak of, and that you're trying to reach that purity that you had when you were born with Kundalini, right? Because you're like, no, you can climax, and we should, or we can do the work, but no, like going over and give and spilling it out. It's supposed to, like, do the homunculated situation within you. So I think that's kind of what the virgin situation is
I
about.
think it's lost innocence, and I think it's them just wrecked in trauma, trying to defile others. I think it's dark when they do the virgin stuff. I'm gonna keep it fun and light, though. I'm not trying to go dark. You know what I mean?
Well, you just did, bud.
Yeah, you just too late. Like I would agree with what Roman was saying. It's about keeping that purity or whatnot. So when you talk about the energies, I mean, I don't want to say Christianity, but when the church kind of moved in and started destroying these pagan cultures, they started to demonize a lot of the practices that they were doing. And so to us on the Western world that's why we see it as an evil thing, whereas on the Eastern world it was a positive thing, and for this rejuvenation. Even in the Bible it talks about not spilling your own seed. So there's this idea of containing that seed, and it's also known as the demon seed, right? So there's different connotations to it. So it's good to talk about both sides. I don't think it's I think it's been a little bit condemned to this other side, though.
I think, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, right? Every symbol has been used in so many different ways throughout time. That's why it's like, what's the fruit? Like, what's the fruit behind the people using these symbols, and what is it bearing? To me, that's what it gets back to.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Virginity has so many beautiful other ingredients. Like if we're going to keep it light, like your priorities. Also, playing the long game. What is it like?
Delayed
setting aside.
gratification.
Yeah, that's it. That's the word. Thank you. That's exactly it. Waiting for things to come to become ripe. For the perfect
Fruit.
moment. Yeah.
Self control, and that fruit, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for that perfect moment when it's just right. Yeah.
Yes, and then there's another word that I really love. It's parthenia, and parthenia is synonymous with virginity, but it also means like anticipation for the plan to go just right and to execute on a dime in the moment. And so, yeah, parthenia is a great word, but it has much to do with like building up the anticipation.
Oh, that's cool.
How do you guys think about like they're called food dogs. You know, like the Asian like dog dragon
Yeah.
things. Do they fit into this conversation?
Yeah, that's a good one. I have a couple on my shelf, little figurines. They're symbolized as protectors. They guard like the world. There's like usually like a globe or a ball underneath them, however you want to say it, and they have their paw over it. It's because they're like the guardians of the world. And so you could think of them as like a drag or a lion-headed dragon or a griffin or something like that too. Gargoyles are somewhat depicted in the same way.
Mhm.
Gargoyles are more reptilian and draconian, and horns usually they look like evil demons. But uh, the food, they all kind of represent the same thing as of protection, and that's why you often find them on tops of buildings because they're protecting that building. So dragons also have this protective quality, and they are seen as protectors, but they're also seen as harbingers of danger or
So
death.
Dan, are they agnostic? You just put them in charge of your treasure. You just make them guardians. Are they agnostic? They just work for their overlords, so to speak, and they're not good or bad. They're just like
I don't.
they
That's kind
are.
of
They
confusing
are
when you say that. If they're
they are
agnostics, they wouldn't.
protecting
If
treasure.
they're agnostic, they wouldn't be working for anybody, right?
Or should I say like they're not good or bad. They're just following orders. They're order followers. So they're like pets. They're pets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even when I read that thing about Yahweh being the dragon, it's talked about that he was the one that was sending the dragons to Israel and having them eat the people and children and whatever had talked about. But so there's it relates to the seraphim and how he's in control of these seraphim and how he sends them out as like his punishers or protectors.
So Canis Major and Canis Minor are the two dogs that are by the side of Orion, the gigantic hero
Very good.
character in the sky. And so that Nergal image that you showed, Dan, earlier, that had the three-headed Cerberus dog next to Nergal,
Mhm.
that's in
Yeah.
perfect positioning to represent Canis Minor and Major. And the reason there's a third head is because those two constellations are integral to the winter triangle. One
Ah,
tip of the triangle is Major, Canis Major. The other tip of the triangle is Canis Minor. And the third star in that triangle is the shoulder piece. It's Betelgeuse, and it's the shoulder of Orion. So the
slick.
three of the
Gabe,
triangle. Yeah, buddy.
I love you.
I love you, man.
I've been showing that image to lots of different people and lots of different like astrologists and being like, can you break this down? I know this has some astrological meaning, but I can see
Yeah,
some of it, but I can't see it all. I need to show it to somebody that understands. That's why when
yeah,
we were
buddy.
talking about it, I was like, I'm gonna grab this image and show Gabe right now because I bet
Nice,
he can
nice.
break it down for me in the way
And,
that I'm looking
y-
for. And you
yep,
just
and
did.
yeah, and it's even more solidified because Orion is at 180 degrees from Scorpio. Orion is a minor decan of Taurus, and that gives it perfect propinquity, 180-degree opposition to the Scorpio. That's why you got the Scorpion in the image too. And that's what's kind of tricky about the zodiac is you not only are you collecting all of the ingredients nearby. That's why I love the word propinquity. You're grabbing everything
That's a
that
great word.
course. Yeah, it's great. Everything that connects to the
Preposterous is
constellation.
my favorite
What's
word.
that?
Preposterous. I love that word.
Nice. Yeah,
P
and then
words, man.
but then you also have to look at what is in opposition because the inside of all things is the seed of its opposite. And that's the kind of the lesson of that 180 degree orientation in the zodiac. And it never fails. It never fails. It's always integral.
Yes.
Yo, I want to share the story that ties into dragons a little bit. But it's the Carl Jung and the visions of Zosimos. It goes into some of the more alchemical side of the Ouroboros and whatnot. One of the Zosimos texts is about a sequence of dreams related to alchemy and presents the proto-science as much as more religious experience. In his dream, he first comes to an altar where he meets Ion, who calls himself the priest of the inner sanctuaries. And I submit myself to an undurable torment. Ion then fights and impales Zosimos with a sword, dismembering him in accordance with the rule of harmony, referring to the division into 4 bodies, natures, or elements. He takes the pieces of Zosimos to the altar and burned them upon the fire of the art, till I perceived by the transformation of body that I had become spirit. From there, Ion cries blood and horribly melts into the opposite of himself, into a mutilated anthroparian, which Carl Jung perceived as the first concept of the homunculus in the alchemical literature. Zosimos wakes up and asks himself, is this not the composition of the waters? And returns to sleep, beginning the visions again. He constantly wakes up, ponders to himself, and returns to sleep. During these visions, returning to the same altar, Zosimos finds a man being boiled alive, yet still, who says to him, the sight that you see is the entrance and the exit and the transformation. Those who seek to obtain the art or moral perfection enter here and become spirits by escaping the body, which can be regarded as human distillation. Just how distilling water purifies it, distilling the body becomes purified as well. Then he sees then a brazen man, another homunculus, as Jung believed by any man described as being metal is perceived as being a homunculus. A leaden man, a Agatha Damon is also a homunculus in the Agatha Damon, the alchemist. Zosimos also dreams of the place of punishments, who all enter here immediately, burst into flames, and submit themselves to the unendurable torment. Jung believed these visions to be a sort of alchemical allegory, who the tortured homunculi personifying transmutations, burning or boiling themselves to become something else. The central image of the visions are sacrificial act, which each homunculus endures. In alchemy, the diaphysite nature is constantly emphasized, 2 principles balancing one another, active and passive, masculine and feminine, which constitute the eternal cycle of birth and death. This is also illustrated in the figure of the Ouroboros, the dragon that bites its own tail, and which appears to be the Chrysopoeia. Self-devouring is all the same as self-destruction, but the unison of the dragon's tail and mouth was also thought to be self-fertilization. Hence, the text of the Tractatus Avinicae mentions the dragon slays itself, weds itself, impregnates itself. In the vision, circular thinking appears to be the sacrificial priest identity with his victim, and in the idea that the homunculus in whom Ion is changed devours himself. He spews forth his own flesh and rends himself his own teeth. The homunculus therefore stands for the Ouroboros, which devours itself and gives birth to itself, since the homunculus represents the transformation of Ion that follows that Ion. The Ouroboros and the sacrificer are essentially the same.
Nice. I'm going to dig up some images, and if I drop out, I'll be right back, because I got to add some icing on that lovely cake, homie.
Sweet. Hell yeah.
That was very. What was that from?
That was from Carl Jung, Visions of Zosimos.
I believe that part of very simplistic thoughts for that for me is like, if you starve the beast, you don't feed them, etc., they will eventually devour themselves. So you almost don't have to battle them. You don't have to fight them. You can just remove your energy from them and they will eat themselves. Now that mention about it used it as to also rebirth, which is just a continuation of what I'm thinking, but I'm like, dude, stay away from dragons, starve all these dark arts cats, and they will devour. They'll eat each other,
It's
and then you just walk away. And then when you come back, they're all just they're dead. They're like the energy. You're not feeding this. You're not giving your energy to this stuff.
Where attention
It's-
goes, energy flows.
it's
Stop
kind of
watching
like a
Fox
vision
News
here.
and stop watching CNN.
Yeah. And so you see this vision with the still here. It's got the
Stop doing
alchemical still.
crypto.
And it's kind of like symbolizing that this is like the base primordial essence
Bird dog.
foundation, that the dragon like is the primordial fire, and then this is the ascension. So like to basically be the eternal fire and stoke your own flame, which is that middle chakra there, then you go up here and you're able to like be the little tiny bird that I guess flies far high into the heaven sky or something like that. But that's what I think we're getting with a lot of the dragon symbolism, is that primordial fire that feeds itself, and that inner alchemy and that kundalini energy, so you can thus burst and fly high and say what's up to Yahweh.
What I loved about that image you just had up, Romie, was it at the very top you do have like that harmless looking dove almost, right? It's almost like that's kind of the story we're getting. If you have like a baby and a super buff wrestler in a wrestling match, right? It's like who's gonna win? I mean, probably the baby, unless that guy's just really a dick. And then at that point, the rest of society is gonna probably kick his ass, right?
If his inner dragons are
like-
tamed, then he shall not kick
Exactly.
the baby off stage.
There's something to be said about the power of that purity, of that harmlessness, and I think that image you just had up represented that well.
You know, Nomad, that reminds me of like being not non-duality. When you think of the fish that ride along sharks, they're not interested in what's going on. They'll just kind of watch and eat what comes off their hand. Yeah, or like birds, like these really small birds that you're talking about in that image. They're not involved in the transaction necessarily. They're just kind of chilling. Oh, what happens? Okay, I'll pick up what I need and move on. They're not involved in the duality of it. So,
right.
Am I reading?
They're not getting caught in that. They're not getting caught in that circle. Yeah.
They're just hanging out, and the big bodies battle. The little ones they float around. When it's settled down, they come and hang and move on. They're not really involved. So they're just kind of in parallel to that whatever that battle is going on. You know, right. Maybe that's
kind of like humans and creation in a way is creation, or the cosmos, or if you don't believe in cosmos, just the earth itself, or however you want to look at it. But it's that battle of Mother Earth is gonna do its own thing. We can only live within it. We can't really tame the earth. I think they have tried and they failed.
I mean, shit, I don't know. I'm kind of in the ballpark that Earth might legitimately just like be a little alchemical lab, and we're all just running around being byproducts of some higher echelon source.
I mean, I actually think it is like life is what you make it in this reality, and so. Yeah. But there's rules, right? And so you can't break other people's reality, and that's why you have to have consensus. Essentially, I think when you're trying to sort of mold reality, if you will.
You know, it's funny, like the rainbow serpents, man. Rainbow serpents, they were describing weather patterns, and we talk about weather patterns as little rainbow serpents, baby. Look at that little snake right there.
Look at that. There's even a rainbow for the legend. Like how to read the map is based on a rainbow. That gradient scale there.
Oh.
Legend.
Can we zoom in on that? Legend.
That's the legend.
Oh. Whoa.
The dragon
holy
legend.
Shit.
Whoa.
Have you heard of
they call it a legend? It's right in your face. They call it a legend, which is like right, bro. I never even put the two together, Gabe, until just now. My gosh, it's so amazing. This is so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Romie, there's also this thing called the Carrington event, which was like a huge solar storm, and the shape of that is also a serpent. is kind of relating to what you just said. Let me see if I can find it here.
Oh,
Yeah, so that brings something up while you're looking for it. I'm going to read this short list of words, terms, the catchphrases of culture, and I want you guys to all listen to these and just kind of consider how a lot of them relate to the dragon, but also how the dragon is analogous to sexual innuendo. So I'm going to throw these phrases out, and I want you guys to keep both ears open. Like, one ear is like the innuendo ear, and the other ear is like the threat of serpents infiltrating the sanctity of your safe space. Let's just say,
Pagans
again,
and Christians.
This is where Ophi, the word Ophi means snake, but it also means your phallus. So we have the word wormhole.
yo. Fuck. Dragon hole.
It's also a warm hole that you're gonna. It's a wormhole. We have the word black hole. We have the term global worming. The dragon is surrounding the globe. The worm is going to engulf the earth with the fire of doom, whatever. We have space sex. We have ground zero, which is like ground in. It's the zero that you, right? And then we have Nagas Saki. The Nagas Saki. We have the pearl.
That's whiskey dick, right?
Nice.
No, it's sake dick, man.
But I mean, the terminology is
right.
That.
And then we have Pearl Harbor, which and now also so Pearl Harbor is the pole star
flicking the bean.
being. What's that?
Flicking the bean.
Yeah, or yes, or it's ovulation. You know, the pearl is going into the harbor, but it's also the pole star being harbored by the dragon, by Draco surrounding it, keeping it safe. So all of these are like astrotheological, but they're also sexual innuendo.
So Slick, I have a serious question, man.
By the vagina.
Slick, this is something I've been wrestling with back and forth.
Is it a dragon?
Like, you talk about space sex and that type of stuff. Is that built in? Do they build that into their code, into their ritual, intentionally, or is this just unintentional? It just happens to be a part of the code. Like, you know, they're dark. Like, do they sit? Is there an AI or a guy on a chalkboard going, "We're going to name it Space Sex"?
Right.
Or is that just happen? Like, is that intentional, or is that just because the code itself goes?
Or is it spay? Like, spay it, like to neuter it? Is it spay?
Because if you think about how to decode, like there's so many decoders out there, especially for the we're decoding the dark arts people.
Right.
Are they doing this intentional and set it because it's so the webs of darkness are so just complex?
Yes.
Or is that just accidental, but it's built into the code?
Man, this is like the most important question, and I admit I'm in both worlds. I believe that it's just a natural phenomenon, part of the code. It's how communication works. That all things are functioning on multiple levels, and it depends on what level your mind is at that you can interpret it. But there is a thread to try to fill in the other option, which is that it is all man-made constructs, and there is in part of this thread, it goes right through Cleveland, Ohio, because Cleveland, Ohio is where words are officiated. These are the authors. These are the authorities on language. Is in Cleveland, Ohio. It's there's and I'd have to research it to bring more substance to this. But Cleveland, Ohio is where words become official. I do. I need more receipts to substantiate this, but that blows my mind because Cleveland, Ohio is the name of it. For one, it's where a lot of the Crowley movement that infiltrated Kentucky back in the days with the Penny
Cleaver.
Royal podcast. A, a,
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of the history of Kentucky is actually fed
Slick, I mean,
through Cleveland. But then one more
I
thing.
know they have their mystics on their side that
Yes.
calculate, which has been going on forever, right? When's the best time to do a battle these days, or when's the best time to do a ritual? These dates amplify that power, the celestial, etc. But some of these decodes, Slick, it's like, dude, how can they sit like it's so like the connecting of the dots. It's just synchronous.
Right.
It builds on top of each other. Yeah.
Right. It's also hermetic. It's like self-contained and self-referential.
I personally believe there is some sort of creator behind our reality, and so if you believe that, then you would fair to guess that there's some sort of template, right, that is in place. And I think the stars are kind of a key to that template. And the Bible even talks about how the stars are for knowing seasons. And if you break down that word seasons, it's actually talking about like cycles of time. And so it's not necessarily like weather. And so I think that it's kind of both. Some people try to use that template and, use it game in the system. But I think it's also very dynamic. And so it can shift and change, when you get close to something or whatnot.
Nomad. That's beautiful, brother. Thank you, man. I've always been saying like they have like that's powerful what you just said. And I know they also have their what I call their cosmic lawyers. They try and find their karmic loopholes to go, how do we and they're literally lawyers. Like they're lawyers, literally lawyers. They also think they can found guys, I found a clause in the cosmic loophole. Here's how we can do all this dark arts and avoid the karmic bounce back. And I think they definitely try that, Nomad. And they're like paper tigers. They're weak, but there is something built in. There's a design, there's a code, there's an underlying firmware for sure that would lead to a program.
The phi ratio or the Fibonacci.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
I look at it. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I want to point out, like you were saying about the grand code, this is why Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is to the same music as your ABCs. Because the cosmos and this astrotheology, those are the fundamentals of our communication and our language. And I believe that in between, so we don't give credence to astrology or astronomy. People dismiss that very, very eagerly. They dismiss it. However, the next level down from the highest realm of knowing, the next level down is psychology. And psychology is where astronomy becomes acceptable. And this is why Carl Jung was actually a master astronomer. And so the tie-in from your ABCs and your Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is your clue that our alphabet and the patterns of the pater of the Father of the heavens is the fundamental building blocks of our communication system. And that's why, for me, all things go back to above. And then we bring them down to the below for reflection. And that is the maxim of the Hermetic principles, right?
Yeah. And one more thing I wanted to add on to that to complete the thought is in the way I've been meditating on it, and I've been seeing it, is God has sort of this perfect will and then a permissible will. So it's like he has an idea of maybe the beginning and the end of how it should be, like the perfect scenario, but then he allows for variability, right? Because that creates interest and allows for excitement. And I think that God does like sort of this back and forth, like this dual, like that's part of who we are. Like we just like to joust and to have that back and forth. And so I think there is something to be said of like this perfect will. And when we start to see all this syncs, right, I think we're getting closer to God's perfect will.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Well said.
I lived that sync life since late 2019.
Living in the sink.
We're getting the whole kitchen.
I didn't know
sink.
you were in a band.
And I mean that resonates with the actual human resonance. And it's I also consider things like dragons. Are they real, actual, physical entities that have existed and possibly are existing, or is that like an Agent Smith type, Matrix type relation where all this stuff out there, all this mythos is actually we are our own Agent Smith. We're trying to fly and we hold ourselves down, or these dragons are just like somehow some sort of saga told to us of this is human nature. This is your nature. I'm fleshing this out as I talk. So Nomad, you crushed it. I'm just kind of throwing this out. I haven't really articulated this too often.
Yeah.
Well, one thought on that is that a serpent, its only potency, it lacks arms. It cannot interface with the world around it very well. It doesn't have hands or legs. But its main potency, its primary reason, is its mouth. And so it tells a long tail. And so the Ouroboros with the tail in its mouth is actually indicating it is a long story, and that it's an endless story that goes on.
And they're grounded.
That's right.
And they're
That's
grounded.
right.
And then you get into the whole set and the set. It's about knowledge, and maybe the eagles versus serpents. They don't want you to have that knowledge. So they have to use their mouths. They're grounded, all that knowledge, and that this is into dragons. So it's
right, and this is why the letter S is so serpentine. It's because it's the 1 and the 9. It's the 19th letter, and that is the eros gamos, the two extremes, the alchemical wedding of the 1-9 of the letter S. And also S indicates possession. The word possession has more S's in it. I think Paranoid American dropped a word that has the most S's. I think it has 7 S's, and it's like
Mississippi.
Whoa.
Well,
No?
Oh, that's a good one.
Am I close? But that also has ISIS. ISIS built in. I think
he said the word is dispossessedness.
Oh, they might have.
Dispossessedness.
I think Romie, like you should not have Gabe and I in the same room because we will digress from the topic at hand. We just can't help ourselves. So,
Hey man, we're chilling, bro.
Yeah, but it's all connected. That's why all this stuff. It's hard to just talk dragons and not get 1,000 levels elsewhere.
Yeah. That made me think though, Bird Dog, your question. So, Romie, you were talking about worms, right? And you've mentioned Stargate in the past. I don't know if you know much about it, but the Goa'uld, who are like these parasitic worms essentially, who would like inhabit other creatures and take them over. I think we could be seeing something like that, where we had these like worms almost that took over entities and could control them or whatnot.
Oh, you're on to something, Nomad. I mean, then you want to boil it down. We're talking big dragons. You can boil it down to parasites. Oh my gosh!
And maybe it was the parasite that took over a normal snake and then it turned into a dragon. I don't know. Who knows what was going on before the deluge, right?
Parasitic mushrooms are a trip, man. Thinking about how there's literal things that only exist by needing a host, like the lobster mushroom. It's a type of parasitic fungus that only exists through other mushrooms. It goes and says, "You're a host now," and then makes it into a lobster mushroom and like turns completely unedible mushrooms edible. Through its parasitic just existence. So I don't see any reason why there couldn't be a parasitic fungus that, like,
Well,
could have
yeah. And also,
symbiotically connected to us at some point.
if you're talking about spirits and entities coming into other creatures, it might be easier for them to take over like a worm and then get from the worm into the human. You know what I mean? Because it's the brain capacity of trying to if it's like thought form, essentially taking over another creature, to try to go straight to a human would probably be a lot harder. But if you go into like a parasite that exists already in our realm and then into the human, you might have some more control there. So I don't know. There could be some combo of all that.
There's something, I know, some spiritual symbology of worms is, soil is held very, very sacred because, byproduct of the body is like an alchemical process, right? Like, even manure is pretty clean, the cleaner you eat, the cleaner it'll be. And so like soil, to a lot of indigenous cultures, I know, is very, very high regard, and it should be high regard. It's a decomposition of everything that lays surface, right? Unless it's like a heavy mineral, obviously. But so compost is part of the alchemical process, and it's incredibly important. So even the first layer, putrefaction, which makes sense why another reason why a worm would be considered in that, because an alchemical term of compost is putrefaction. And so you have the sacred worm that lies through the compost. It makes compost. But it's also the fire. So it's like the salamander, and the salamander is the fire salamander, and another dragon. So worms are like weird enough as it is. Worms hold an esoteric and spiritual symbology, because the soil is sacred, and that's where all the roots to the trees even have to grow. Even this beautiful life tree has to grow in the dirt, and the dirt is made through the dead bodies of all of us once we pass on through and continue that internal flame.
And that is kind of the lowest level of the process, right? Like you're literally in the shit, like circling around. So like, yeah, you could see that as like the beginning of the metamorphosis.
Oh man, I want to be in a cocoon and go through some
liquefy
go through
yourself.
some metamorphosis. Yeah, that'd be so sick. Oh my goodness.
Dude, so I want to throw this at you, Slick. I just came up with this.
Right on.
Here we go.
Circle, the serpent eating itself. Serpent. Cull the serpent. And I think I always relate serpents to knowledge. Like I boil it way down to knowledge. They don't want you to know the knowledge. So serpents are bad.
Yes.
Call the serpent, call the knowledge, hide the knowledge.
Yeah, just keep it within itself, circling. Yeah, culling. Yeah, culling is sheep herding circle. Interesting.
And then of course you throw in other
keep it within the circle. Keep it in the circle.
And then you have things like I've heard people say this, like C's are actually like they're just made up. It's a made up letter, and I'm like, they're starting to win me over on that. And of course, the Q is basically a broken circle. It's a it's a broken circle, which is dark.
Or it is the portal. It's like the phallus going into the circle.
Or that. Oh yeah, that's
the globus crucigeronum.
It's also a couple more wonderful things. The Q is a fishing net, and 17 is the 17th triangular number is 153. That is the number of fish that Christ predicted would be pulled out of the net when he told the fishers to cast your net to the right-hand side of the boat. And so 153 is a sacred number relating to the fishing of men. And this is also where 153 is SEL, social emotional learning. And so the social emotional learning, SEL, is teaching children to be fish. SEL 153, fish. And so the social emotional learning program that is getting launched right now is a fishing of men expedition. It's not a good thing. And it's
what about the cell in reference to battery though?
Right, because the children, yes, you hook those kids up and all their little TikTok buttons they push is racking up, digital information dollars to somebody behind the curtain. It's a
But I
profound,
see like the selfish as
right?
see, they'll invert that into darkness, but the cell in itself, I'm a generator. My heart beats with no one's permission.
Right.
I'm an energy generator. I'm generating
That's the
energy
dragon,
energy
baby.
now.
Right.
So
It
what
does.
you said, they take that beautifulness and they invert it
Right.
into
And
something else.
maybe, yes, and the way out of the school of fish, at the same time, the way out is to be selfish, is to not be part of the school of fish. And that's what they're introducing to the kids right now, to
And
the
to sell
schooling
that
system.
fish.
Is to, yes, it's a trip. It is
That's
truly.
what I think. So I think selfish is a quote unquote good thing, so to speak, and
Yeah.
in reference to that.
Right. And then one more thing, the Q is also the placenta with the umbilical cord intact. And this is the ser call. The placenta is a call sac, is another word for placenta.
Call? How do you spell that?
Caul. So the ser, oh, I got a visitor. Ser means extra. It means head. It means king. Shut up. It means king and it means knowledge. Ser is a very important word. I'm going to pause.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I just looked it
Seraphim.
up. Calcilia is part of a membrane that can cover a newborn's head or face. Whoa, a birth with a caul over the face is rare, occurring in fewer than 80,000 births. Dude, all right, I got a good midway point here. Check this shit out. I want to read this crazy ass poem written by Lewis Carroll's crazy ass. Check this out.
Let Dan in real quick. Oh, never mind. He's in.
I'm in.
Danny
I'm
boy.
in. I made it through the wormhole.
Dragon hole. Okay.
Welcome.
Look at this. This is like early English, like a Beowulf shit. All right, here we go. This is a brain teaser here. Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slilleth toves did Gaia and gibble in the wabe. All mimsy were borough groves, and the mome ras outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite and the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal's sword in hand, long time the maxome fall he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in offish he thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with his head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjaste calu calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did Gaia and gibble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borough groves, and in the mome wrath outgrabe. It's about dragons, I swear to God. Sorry. Oh, 2 people chimed out of that one, huh? All right, well, whatever. Lewis Carroll, 1923, fucking poem about the Jabberwocky, which is about slaying a dragon. Even though you couldn't understand it, but it was about slaying a dragon. The Jabberwocky is, in fact, a dragon.
Oh, cool.
Oh. I just know the dance group.
Oh, shit, son. Yo, we should do the
Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky on the street corner. Yup.
I think that was based on Star Wars or something.
There was, yeah.
Jabberwockies?
I think that's too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jabberwockies.
Yeah, that's definitely the source material on that.
Yeah, I agree with.
I mean, no, legitimate.
John-
Lewis Carroll was saying that it's about slaying of a dragon. So he might have been tapped in. That might be another sacred thing. And the Star Wars fools, who knows?
Did he write that before Star Wars came out?
That was like 1920, I believe.
Yeah. That was the new.
Yeah, I agree with
2019. You mean?
1871. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree
Lewis
with
Carroll.
John on John, the John on John podcast. I love it, Romie, when you get in character and do voices.
Oh man, I mean, you gotta break it up every now and then and have some fun, man.
John on John.
Yeah, that's the gringo way.
Oh shit. No, I told Dan, I was like, dude, let's have no, seriously, I was thinking one Sunday a month. This is what we should fucking do. You guys want to have fun? One Sunday a month, we do a live stream role play game where we all create characters and we roll, and we have someone who is the leader of the Mish, dude.
D&D.
I love
D&D
role playing.
online.
Yes.
We have a pre-written script or improv? You talking improv or
improv? Hack and slash, baby.
Who's
Improv.
the DN? Like,
improv.
who's the dungeon
Dragon
master?
Master?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's
Whoever it
the
is, they just,
Alan
they
Marcus
just
is a
turn their
great
screen off
candidate.
like this, and they just tell everybody what's going to happen, and they just use a false name in the box, and you never know who the dungeon master
Wow,
is.
DM. Dude, I got to work on my accents. Romie, I got to work on my accents, bro. I mean,
that's a great idea.
Uh-oh, shit, Juan is down.
Oh, snap. What up,
There's
Juan?
there's this game, I forget what it's called. It's called Accents, actually. And it's kind of like you draw cards, and then you have to draw an accent card and then use that accent to try to convey what you want people to guess. We take the accent cards and we mix it with the Cards Against Humanity, and then you have to use that accent when you do the Cards Against Humanity. It makes it like twice as funny. Yeah.
Sweet Jesus. Because every time I try to do an Irish accent, it's so terrible. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I bet no one in this circle can do a fucking good Irish
shit.
or Scottish accent. Who here's got the Scottish or Irish?
Romie, do one now.
No one.
Do an accent.
No.
Do an Irish accent.
All right, just give me a sentence and I'll do the Irish. Give me one sentence. I can't think of a sentence and do the accent.
You're not going to get my Lucky Charms.
Think Braveheart. Think
All right.
Brave.
This is
think
how
the
bad my
Braveheart
Irish
movie.
accent is. All right, hold on. Lucky Charms, Lucky Charms, Lucky Charms. Bing bang bong, bing bang bong. Sing a song, Lucky Charms. In the bong, smoke the bong. Lucky Charms, come along, motherfucker. Ding dong, ditch. Wish you got little bitch. All right, hold up. They want me Lucky Charms. They want me Lucky Charms. No,
That's a pirate.
Get out of
like
there.
an angry British Aussie.
Hey, after me, Lucky Charms.
I could do British all day.
Yeah,
I'll do
after me, Lucky
British.
Charms.
British is easy as hell. Yeah,
British,
that was good. Who did that? Who did that? That was great.
But I mean, you could go Braveheart. Like, you could take our land, but you could never take our freedom. Our freedom. I'm trying to work it out.
That's pretty good.
You gotta get back to your roots,
roll, bro.
Your roots.
Back to the roots.
Yeah, freedom. If it's not made in Scotland, it's trash. It's shit. It's shit, man. I'm sorry. They're all mingled in together.
You gotta have good fruits to get good fruits.
Fruits.
Yeah, fruits.
The fruits of my lands, bit. Scottish.
It'll be
Scottish
great.
boys.
It'll be great.
Oh God!
This is what the whole
so terrible.
show will turn into, Roman.
I'm thinking movie clips.
No
that's
accents.
my problem is. I'm thinking movie clips like great. Hey, you great in the Scots. The Scots. I don't know. I'm just.
You sound like Mike Myers doing Fat Bastard.
Dags.
You sound like Mike Myers doing Fat Bastard.
I'm only impersonating Mike Myers. He's impersonating Scott.
Which, by the way, Pentaverte is a great show. The Pentaveratat. Have you guys seen that on Netflix? The Mike Myers makes fun of conspiracy theorists on Netflix. Have you guys seen that series?
Oh, that's crazy. That's okay. So Mike Myers ties into ties into Bill Gates in a crazy way. And so to piss off conspiracy theorists is really inflammatory,
Oh shit!
archetypally speaking.
You should
Yeah,
watch
that's really
that show.
something.
It's hilarious, dude.
Peace,
Hilarious.
JB. You're awesome. She like
the
that. All right, I'm off the accent. Sorry, I got
like
stuck.
that?
for a minute.
You
We're
like
trying to work.
eggs?
Oh, homie,
Who's
can you
this?
pull up?
Who's
Can
this?
you?
You like eggs,
Aw.
boy? You like dogs, don't you, boy? Oh my god, I fucking love you.
Homie, can you pull up anything that I just sent you? I think I sent you like 4 or 5 things, but I'm
Where at?
uh,
In the private?
in the telly, the personal telly
Oh,
there.
in the telly, son? All right, yo,
Yeah.
you already know I'd be staying on that telly, B.
And while you're doing that, can you do a French accent while you're working on that? Can you do French?
Oh, I nah, mate. Oh wait, no. French,
French.
croissant, croissant, wah, wah, wah,
Oui,
wah.
oui, oui.
Oui, c'est peut-être un vrai débat. C'est done, oui. But go to my Telegram and I don't know. Say so look at this from Gabrielle here.
Je n'en sais quoi. Sacre bleu.
Let me share my screen.
Oui, oui,
Cigarette. So let me see.
Just gotta do
Oh,
the
Jesus Christ.
Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe le wanna Juan.
All right. They wanna. All right. Yeah. Here we are.
All
Rainbow
right.
Dragon. Oh God.
All
Thanks,
right.
man.
Here we're getting into it now, boys.
Yeah,
Sweet
buddy.
crispy tots.
Rainbow Dragon. Big
If you haven't air fried your chicken wings yet, better get on it, baby, and fucking dip them in some fucking sweet sauce.
I gotta drop, but I love y'all. This has been great.
What the?
Have a
Yo,
This is
good
about to
man.
get juicy.
Bro, I'll
Big
catch you
love.
later. I know.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding, man.
man.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Nice weaving with you,
Have a
brother.
good one.
Likewise. Take it easy.
Always
Much
an
love,
honor.
Nomad. You're the man, yo.
So this occurred to me just recently. Can you zoom in at all, homie?
I sure can. Yes, I. Where we going,
Okay.
left or the right?
Oh, just come in a little closer if you can. This is a graphic I put together, like
God, I'm lagging out.
control zoom or
Oh, there
control.
we go. There we go. Yes. Oh yeah.
So this occurred to me recently, and we were working this angle on the spiders last night. But we have 3 events, all of which build up to a major trigger for the collective, and it starts with the Challenger. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people tell the same story that I experienced the day that the Challenger mission was blown up. And that is that they took us out of class for a special event to watch the Challenger mission, where they put a school teacher in a sacred vessel, a chalice, and sent her into the sky and exploded her in front of all of our eyes as children. Horrible group traumatic ritual. And then you zoom ahead until 2001, and on 9/11 we had a teacher in a school setting reading this book to children, and that's Bush Jr. here. In the book he's reading, he had the iPet goat, and he has this book here as one of the books he was passing around in the photo op. By the way, that room was so packed full of cameras and boom mics. It was clearly a publicity stunt. There were so many boom mics and so much media around just him reading to these children. So the book it's a rainbow. The editor company is called Rainbow. The book has a dragon on it, and it's story hour. He's telling these children stories. And now today, the 3rd event is Rainbow Drag Time Story Hour. All of these group traumatic rituals fuse together to piss people off to no end by the mere implication that clowns, dressed up actors, provocateurs are going to say anything to our fucking children. And so I just wanted to put context to the reason why it pisses us off so much. It is quite by design. And it goes back to the Challenger mission, to 9/11, to this motherfucker acting a fool, pretending like he doesn't know, and now it's story hour. Now it's time for him to tell a bunch of lies, for him to proliferate fiction onto the children. And that is why Drag Time Story Hour, it has so much more weight than it should.
Well, Slick, the goal is one of the goals is to demoralize people, and that will lower your vibe and will disjoint and it's worked. Hey, guess what, Slick? Right. it's worked. Am I right?
It's worked. Yeah, man. But we got to bring that monster to the forefront. We got to all face it and we got to name it for what it is. And so I just wanted to connect all these dots. You know,
You got to know the dragon's name to fight that motherfucker, G.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So this was a fun little realization. Just the fact that there is such a solid thread going all the way through all these group traumatic rituals. Can you zip to another one? I'm not sure. Anyone you want? This one is the Maxwell family crest. And looky, on a very subtle subconscious level, you got the Baphomet hiding out in the tail feathers of the double-headed eagle. You see the Baphomet? The Baphomet is hiding out in so much heraldry.
Oh, it's upside down, dude.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Bro,
so
it
next
just
time
popped out on me.
Next time you're checking out heraldry and you see those little tail feathers, those aren't tail feathers, y'all. That's Baphomet down under. That's the Knights Templar underground.
What? And what are we looking at right now? Can you remind? What is this flag?
Yeah. This is the Maxwell family crest. And Maxwell is a super suspect name. There's not just Ghislaine, but it's got
coffee.
Right, coffee. Yep, you got it. So look at that's a porcupine on the mutable X, and the porcupine is an echidna. And so having an echidna, a Medusa, a Gorgon on a shield, that is a symbol of Minerva, of Athena. Athena conquered the Gorgon, and she put the Gorgon's face on her shield. So all of these symbols are so profoundly deep. There's so much more going on in heraldry. So that's something I'm going to start looking into. I'm going to get a book on heraldry.
What does it say on these arms here? Solve. It says solve
Solve
over here.
and coagula.
I can't zoom in coagula.
Yes, solva and coagula. And that's very important alchemically. You know, the the medical industrial complex, all they do is separate. All they do is solva. Mm-hmm. They separate and give you the independent constituent parts of the ingredients, and on us to put them back together. That's what we're doing right now with this pattern recognition. We're putting shit together. Yeah, the sacred combinations.
A lot of my studies have been in like the 1800s. And you bring this into, I mean, look at the forehead and the pentagram on that forehead. Are you kidding me right now? As you zoomed in that last time, when you get into taking over the quote unquote new land, the new world, America, then they fund the Bolshevik Revolution, right? I'm not going to get into the details. This is just the overland. This is just the overhead. Then, I mean, you know, you take off the Bolshevik, Russia. You destroy all those bells that Romie mentioned about, which for some reason actually hit me pretty hard. I'm like, you're destroying these beautiful bells. You got America over here, all in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and then you take over and you can look up the Communist Manifesto to take over America. You can look that up yourself. And one is, you know, mess with the genders and demoralize the populace, divide and conquer, you know, and you can see that all over since the 20s. You know, Creatures of Jekyll Island, the money. So the early 1900s, Russia's taken over. They murder and destroy that like lineage and any like easy evidence that they could destroy. Right. And that brings us and so on and so forth. I don't want to get stuck there, but that brings us to where we are today.
Right. Something that goes unobserved sometimes. The word Bolshevik actually means it correlates very strongly with the term bostrafadan, which means to write in both directions as the ox plows. And so they're speaking in their double tongue, their split tongue. They speak all the languages and they're controlling all of the power of opposition. And that is all encapsulated in the word Bolshevik. It's quite nuts what that word, how much meaning. Man. Yeah, how much meaning can be packed in one word. That's super, super meaningful.
So we're basically, that's why I love these communities. We are uncovering the indigenous, ancient, natural ways and gnosis. This is what we're doing this now, and it has been covered and hidden and inverted, you name it, and that's what we were doing now. It's beautiful. The 1800s, man, I'm telling you, this is when they went into full effect, and this is where we're suffering the remnants now, dude. So I love this. I've been listening to like lately, like free energy and all that stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is what we're uncovering. So we are small in numbers, but we are very big in actual power, actual energy, actual current.
Yeah, man. Bird Dog, I see you over on Exertus. Aren't you over on Exertus
Yeah.
sometime? Yeah, buddy.
I nerd out over there. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they are on it with the free energy. They just did a breakdown with Dave.
Generation Z is my guy too, man.
Yeah, man. He just blew some
that's
minds.
I'm over there, dude. This is but what's weird, Slick, is I don't know, like, it doesn't matter how old we are. We should be been having these conversations when we were 5 years old, literally. But
the quickening is upon us.
Dude, we're so far behind. We got to go, shoot, I got to unwash that first 20 years or whatever.
I couldn't even talk until I was 6, man.
Yeah, you can't talk to your 6, but they're still telling you stuff. You should still be looking at like sacred geometry. You weren't looking at sacred geometry. You weren't looking at beautiful bells ringing. You weren't looking at sound therapy and sound and resonance. So it's very interesting where we're now uncovering this type of stuff now, which we should have gotten in the mystery schools from the beginning, but that's been co-opted.
Right.
But I'll be honest, man. I mean, I've multiplied like 3 times, and I've been spitting my rants and the people under my tutelage, like they are going to be next level because they're already ahead of me.
Yeah.
Like when I was their age, I was watching sitcoms and listen, that type of stuff, right? So this is between the Bolsheviks, between the serpents, between everything we talk about here, unlocking the hidden history. We're discovering what is real, what is true.
Right.
What is true, and there is truth, and it all comes back to nature. As above, so below. I include Star Trek. I include the stars within nature. There's truth in nature. Anything outside of nature, artificial, will fail, and that's what we've been given. So it will fail, whether gracefully because we don't adopt it, or whether horrifically. You know what I mean? But either way, whether it's the heart, Gaia, Earth, as above, so below, everything in between, we're only learning it now and sharing. It's a true honor to be here, man. We're living interesting times. Sorry for my
all's well. I want to pick up where you dropped on with the bells, taking away the bells, guys. I just thought of this today. Yeah. I just thought of this today. This is all theoretical speculation. This is standard slick dissonant. Take it or leave it. What if the removal of the bells from the world wars? What if there was a very good reason? What if there was something beneficial? And I'm going to just postulate this idea. What if a person standing in just the right location who is exposed to the ringing of one shape of bell in one direction and simultaneously a different shaped discordant bell in the opposite direction, they're walking in the Vesica Pisces of that radiant emanation of those 2 bells, and the 2 bells are discordant. And it may
discordant? Like harmoniously, like a major third, or
yes, exactly. And it might open a portal inside of them because they're listening to the discordance of 2 different tones. What if they were opening portals in people by playing bells with no regard for the harmony that the bells should have had? And they were realizing their mistake, that they were playing bells that were opening portals that we didn't want anything to do with. And then what if 9/11 and the collapsing of the 2 bell dings was an intentional opening of a portal?
Yes.
They weaponized.
Well, that's a reach. The thing is, Slick, I agree with you on both fronts.
Yeah.
The Once Nueve thing and the sound resonance thing that you're talking about. Yes, you can weaponize the frequencies and the sounds and the vibrations. You can
Mhm.
dampen it and etc. But
Or even leave a person in Discord as a result.
yes, you can. But absolutely. But just as powerful, man. You can bring that healing. I believe in that, all that sound energy. I believe in all the geopolymers and everything, and the bells and the. You just play a building. You hit a. Romie, you
Hollow
walk into the
stones.
building by yourself. You just tap on it, and that thing starts to resonate all around.
Yeah.
Right.
With the high roofs and the domes and the and all that
Temples
is
were
beautiful
built
healing.
specifically with some really nice
Right.
hollow rocks.
Yeah.
Now,
But you can
now,
turn
now
that
here,
beautifulness into darkness too. You can
Right.
turn, you can weaponize that, unfortunately, but
right.
harmonious.
Now
versus
think of this.
discord.
Now think of Dresden. The city of Dresden had tons of Turkish architecture, tons of Hebrew, Jewish architecture, and tons of Christian. So you had all three, and they all ring their bells at different times with different architecture, with different shapes.
Mhm.
What kind of discordance does a triple bell effect with three different branches of the same story, but they're not on the same page? Like
Dude,
the Jews
so
are on this calendar, the Muslims are on that calendar, and we're on this calendar. So the discord is intrinsic to the system. It's actually almost pulling us apart and not bringing us together like it should. And that's why
I want to
Dresden had to go.
I think there's a big thing on that too. I mean, our ancestors were obsessed with bells. Being one of the first handmade instruments that was ever made in the I think the oldest Chinese bells that we have date back to 5000 BC, and there are these rectangle bells that are still, like, they astonish people because they have whatever key that it's in, which means it's tuned to a specific key, which predates Pythagorean music theory by a shit ton, by thousands of years. Does it predate the Pythagorean theorem of the major third, and the musical scale was predated and made with bells that had a diatonic tone, the major third, on the other side of this bell. And so these Chinese bells were hung in succession and made just like exactly how the piano was basically shaped. And so the ancestors were very, very big on the sound resonance stuff. And I personally believe that, because we've been doing it's funny you bring up the bells, because we've done 3 episodes already specifically on the Patreon going deep into bells, and we're going to make like a little YouTube documentary, Nomad and I, who he dipped out earlier, but we kind of broke down in that like, it's when you go and dig into the ancient Vedic symbolism of the temple bell, it was supposed, they knew that it was aligning your left and your right brain. They knew that the sound waves, what it worked on a biological and a physical level. They knew that it was getting your calm in your on your left and your right brain, which is Kundalini yet again, just like the dragon, just like battling and bringing everything and wrapping that serpentine energy up your spine. And then that's how they would portal out. If it's not a portal like physically, like you're like dismembering your body and you're going over here on the other half of the planet, it's a conscious portal. And I think that we all can agree that sound and frequencies play that conscious portal realm.
Romie, I want to ask you a question, man, and I want to preface this with and this is about sound and what was going on a while ago, pre-melting bells, pre all this craziness. I spent a few years in the Arabian Peninsula, and I would wake up in the neighborhoods, and their mosques would sing. And really, this is another show, but if you break the Quran down, it is based on a lot of tonality and even chromatic, very sound notes, so to speak, in tune. So I would wake up and I would hear this like 5 times a day across the neighborhood, right? And at first it bothered me. It's very similar to where I maybe would hear roosters in the morning, and then at first it would bother me. Give me a week or two, I go, that actually sounds beautiful. Thank you, roosters. And guys singing in a language that I don't get, but it's bouncing off all the buildings, old school, traditional. Quran singing prayers, I don't know, but I learned to like just go, what's up? This is cool. This is chill. I'm like, this is chill, dude. And so I'm wondering, and that's old school. So they've been doing this way for at least hundreds of years. That's not a new thing. That's an old thing. So
Very
it's
old.
beautiful. So they're singing. Not only do I feel good, they're healing the land, the buildings, the everything. If you built the feng shui right, everything's rocking. Good vibes are coming. So do you think pre all this destruction or whatever, that they were just in all these towns across the land, across the realm, they're just throwing out cool harmonious sounds the whole time? Because that sounds cool.
I think like in theory there's like that you know, in a perfect world there was this matriarchal society that was where women were incredibly held at an honorable honorable rank, higher than they have been treated in our recent history, since we are clearly ran on a patriarchal system. And I think that during that time and that golden age goodness, whenever that was, even if it's the future to come, if it is a mythical past, a matriarchal mythical past that we just dream of because it sounds so dreamy and beautiful, that everybody could be so loving, and all the tones and the buildings were vibing on that level, I think it existed. I can't put a fucking date onto when, because you look at all of this history and it just seems like it's always been written down in a patriarchal sense. So there's really no way to tell when that existed, if it ever even happened, or if it is just all like completely made up of our wants and desires.
Dude, I think there was balance.
I really don't know.
There was balance. I'm just going to use this word, balance. I think at some point there was some sort of balance. How long that period of time was, I don't know. Why did someone come in and try and disrupt that? Dude, maybe dragons, like some of these stories, maybe they never existed at all, ever. And they only literally early on psychological operations where they created this fear when none of that existed to begin with. Possibly. I'm literally just throwing stuff out there right now,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think it was a
big lizards.
Right. I remember
giant lizards.
I remember one of your comments earlier in the show, Bird Dog, before you came on. You were talking about, dinosaurs almost creating a religion, and
a lack mentality, Slick.
Yeah.
Or fossil fuels. There's a finite supply. Dragons and other potential things. There's a fear there of some kind. There's a good or bad, or who knows. Give us money too. And then there's the no technology. You're gonna, so it's that lack mentality that I feel like has been built into, it's been taken over by a parasitic class.
Right.
And we can tie these together. There's evidence. There's evidence of lies. There's evidence of so and so. So we're uncovering those webs now. So to me, nothing's off the table. I'll be honest. In fact, talk to me tomorrow, guys. I'll have a whole nother outlook. I'll be like, I changed everything. I'm thinking this way now. So, but you know what I mean? How does that help me? That means, bro, I'm not sure. I don't know sports. I don't know anything about sports. Like, I know there's like soccer that happened, and there's like, I don't even know, right? So, but I'm focusing on raising my vibration. I have amnesia. I'm uncovering my Akashic records like now. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, man. And
I love to decode. I want to know the code. I don't care about everything else. So
right. And isn't it so appropriate that the dragon is notorious for hoarding?
Oppressing too. Hoarding. Yeah. Hey, and you're starving, Slick. You're down the road working, like, dude, and there's a whole dragon covering a whole treasure that could make everyone not want for anything.
Right. Yep.
But who defeats the dragon in the stories, at least in my fantasy books that I've read, a paladin or something, or a guy. You got to solve a riddle. You got to solve some sort of riddle.
Yeah.
Then you got to be righteous of some kind. Like, I'm going to check your heart. All right, you're righteous, and then you slay the dragon.
Right. Percival. And even
stories, but
and even the Vatican fulfills that. They're sitting on that library underneath them. The hoard of knowledge. Very, very.
The dragon in the castle. Yeah, they're hoarding that eternal. Yeah, that's funny too, because he
it's
brought up
always
the
a
mouth
girl
of the
at Castle
serpent, so
too.
it's almost like the base of the serpent. If it's coming out like the Oracle of Delphi, like that serpentine energy, and they're coming out in the I don't know
Yeah.
if that was the speaking room or the conference room at the Vatican with the
Yeah.
serpent
Yep.
mouth,
Yep. And it's
but we know it goes
acoustic.
down layers.
Yeah.
Oh, it's perfectly acoustic too, huh?
Right.
Wait, how many layers
So,
down does the
so
Vatican go?
real quick before we get too far away from that last graphic, the one that was sitting up for a while there, where it had
Oh yeah.
that that was Carl Jung's ring. This is Carl Jung's ring on the left,
Oh shit, yes.
and there's way more than what I'm going to talk about here. Everybody should go
What do you
look
mean
up
ring?
his
What's going
ring.
on?
Carl Jung has a very significant ring that he wore. And everybody should research this because there's way more. It turns out there's an image on the other side of this one. And I'll just leave that for other people to satisfy their, the treasure hunt here. But this ring, if you research it, he reveals that it is based on the Agathodaimon, which what came up in what you were reading earlier, homie. You were mentioning the Agathodaimon, which is like a protective serpent that guards over a city or a collective. And it blows my mind because I found the very same image is on the world card number 21. It's a very significant card. It sits at the pinnacle of the way I arrange my zodiac. It's at the top. It's the final card of the trump cards. It's in Gemini, and it is. You can see that it has the colors of a peacock's feather. It's shaped like an eyeball, and it has this sacred goddess. Now I've inverted her upside down so that you can see the similarities of the shape of the Gothodaimon of his ring and the serpent in the universe card. In standard tarot decks, it's called the world card, but in the Thoth deck in particular, that is a perfect match for that card. It is the
rainbow
universe
serpent.
card. Yes. And she's got the four corners there. But this is quite profound because I believe that Carl Jung's work has been reappropriated. And I'm going to stay ambivalent on whether that's a good or a bad thing. I think he would be very displeased with what it's been used for if he were here today. Most of these people we think about or talk about, they would be rolling over in their graves 1,000 times over. That's an understatement if they saw what was going on with their work.
Yeah.
But
I
I just
agree.
thought I would share this, that I believe that the spirit of Carl Jung is deeply embedded into the Thoth Crowley tarot deck. And this is
I mean,
very strong
I don't see
evidence of that.
why not, dude. Young is next level. I mean, like,
Yeah,
he created archetypes, and that's
right.
tarot is like it kind of puts like it's a beautiful way to be able to like have so much esoteric symbolism in there when you're like when no one even knows can like interpret archetypes because they're just constantly unfolding on themselves like fractal archetypes, within each other, man. Like, yeah, this is beautiful, dude. This is beautiful right here. This is a great weave, man.
Thank you.
Did you make this while we were chatting?
No, I made this a while back, and I'm still digesting it. There's so much more beyond this, and to each their own on that journey. But this is a nice little gem to share with people. And I don't know if you can pull up any of those other images, but there's a very important reason why the peacock feather is depicted here. It turns out this is also a constellation. Here we go. Nice, you got it. This is
I just saw that. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. This is also a constellation, a very significant one, because it's on this. This is at the South Pole, and this is where, like I mentioned earlier, there are so many sacred birds are depicted around the South Pole. And the Pavo is the peacock constellation. In Latin, it's called the Pavo
Holy
Royale.
shit! Wait, really quick. I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, buddy.
That serpent chain that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is that on the north side of everything?
Does
that wrap around the north?
Which one? There's
like
one on each.
Hydra, Scorpio, Ophiuchus.
No, that
Libra.
one. Hydra is I believe that Hydra is separate from this one, and this is really difficult. I'm still straightening out all of my serpents of the sky. I think that Hydra is the one we were talking about earlier that runs through Virgo and probably has to do with Yahweh. I think this is Hydrus or Hydris, and I think there's a difference.
Oh.
I don't think they're exactly the same, but their name is so similar that it's almost like a mislead or a duck. But
Yeah.
so you'll notice that there are so many ingredients of everything we've already talked on in the show right here in this very significant location. And the South Pole Star has an interesting name. It's called Sigma Octantis, and that is to say that it's hidden. Because it hides periodically throughout the year. The southern pole star it goes under the earth for certain parts of the year, so it's occulted. It's more secretive. It goes into the underworld. So this is blowing my mind because this is the peacock, which corresponds to the color scheme of the universe card. And this character, Indus, which is the only Native American in all the constellations, he's putting his foot on this serpent near the southern pole star, which I believe is Hydrus. And I think that is also correspondent to Carl Jung's ring here. So I think we could say that Carl Jung's ring is specifically implicating this exact sky snake from the South Pole, which is so beautiful and so meaningful because it's inside, it's internal, it's the inner journey, it's the journey within. Because Sigma Octantis, the South Pole star, is hidden underneath.
Oh, okay. It says it right here. Hydrus is known as the lesser water snake, sometimes known as the male water snake, and the female is Hydra.
Whoa, thank you. Wow, there's a lot to that. There's a whole lot to that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I was just trying to, because it was blowing my mind. With the vision I was getting right in the beginning when you brought this up was how, like, in the alchemical still, we had like the dragon eating itself on the primordial fire down on the bottom, to the bigger bird and to the really light bird. And so I was like, well, I wonder if it goes from the serpent coil up to all these birds where there's like this blossoming. Because I mean, the South Pole is so esoteric as fuck, right? Like, we can't get any information on it. It's completely iced out. At least here we have the Aurora Borealis and like Iceland and Greenland, but South Pole is like really hard to get any deets on, bro.
What if the Aurora Borealis is the peacock's feathers?
Oh, is it?
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Ooh.
Because the Aurora Borealis is a beautiful display of green.
It's definitely the rainbow serpent, though.
Yeah, also totally.
Have you seen it, Gabe? Have you seen the Aurora?
In real? No,
not in real life, not yet.
Me neither, dude. I think no, me neither. I think all you got to do is go to Iceland. I think Iceland, dude. I think a plane ticket to Iceland will do it, or Alaska. I think I feel like I need to see them like once, right? Like,
yeah, man. So there's one more aspect of
this guy, Uranus. Uranus.
That's the Jordan River. It's the Uranus. And what we're looking at right there is the head. This is the fountainhead, which is the title of what's her name's book? Ayn Rand. Book is named The Fountainhead. And I talked to some guys who are enthusiasts of Ayn Rand, and I didn't want to get all conspiratorial on them because they're really down with that movement, and I support that. That's all good. But for her title to be Fountainhead is highly esoteric. She's speaking over a lot of people's heads, and we're looking at the answer right here. That is the source of the Jordan River.
But that what we were just looking at, that picture before, it is, in my opinion, well, that's the cardinal directions at the magnetic north. And in my opinion, because I've heard so many stories about Mount Meru and the four rivers, there might be four rivers right there in the dead center. They wrote the macabre. That's what the Iron Cross is about. That's what all the crosses are about, with Polaris, etc. I mean, we don't have to go. I mean, it's right there. So That is the center, man. I wonder if
Right.
I just took my
And-
compass and just followed it and didn't stop until I reached where my
What
Right.
map
path.
is this? What map is this one down here? I've seen you use it before. I like it a lot. What is it?
There's the Macabre too. Don't forget, this is those
Yeah,
cardinal directions.
I'm not sure where this map is, but I'm not sure where I got it. I try to link it to you later. But there's so many ingredients here, guys. It's insane. Like, I'm glad you asked about the Uranus, because that is the Jordan River that Jesus is walking along.
Oh,
It's
shit.
also Orion is walking on the Jordan River. So
It
it's
looked
also
like a
Jesus.
worm. That's why I was like, is this like
Yeah.
a hairy worm? Like what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like a time worm? Like
Yep.
looked like
It's
a
Jesus.
No, Gabe,
It's,
look, brother
it's-
Gabe, let me tell you where I'm coming from. I'm thinking North America is where actually all this stuff is. I'm thinking North America is the Fertile Crescent is the Gulf of Mexico and Florida.
oh
Mexico.
yeah.
Mississippi is
yeah.
what's that? All that other river stuff. I don't even remember.
Yes.
The
Agree-
Nile River. Actually, the Mississippi is the Nile River, and then you
Right.
have Baja California, which is the Red Sea. So
Yes.
that's where I'm kind of my framework is coming from nowadays.
Yeah, man. I can give you a little gem to carry with you. Isaiah 11:15 is a biblical verse that talks about the Nile River having 7 branches. That ain't happening in Egypt, y'all. That's happening right here in America. And if you look at a full map of the Mississippi River, it is a candelabra. It is the menorah. The 7 branches of the Mississippi create the image of a menorah. And so the secret of the menorah is that this is the extended territories of Egypt.
It's got ISIS right in the middle of it.
Right in the name. It's even Mrs. Seppi. Seppi means 7. These are the
Boom.
missing
Ark.
7.
Bro,
Yep.
Arkansas, the Ark.
You got it, bro.
You pull that all the way up. Dallas,
Yes.
Dallas, Allah, and you just carry all this out. Atlanta, the Creek,
Yep.
etc. So
Yeah, this is
I
named.
only bring that up. I don't mean to digress. I only brought that up, Romie, is because when I look at nowadays these type of maps, that's the kind of purview that I see them through. Like instead of Babylon being in the Iraqis or whatever, I'm talking it's probably with the Iraqis here in North America who went by the same name, the Iroquois.
Right.
So
Yep. And
that's how I shift it. So it's the same. Our concepts are similar. I just shift the wheel just geographically a little bit.
Yeah, man. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
we've definitely gone over that on the show too. We've had some authors on tell us about some of those stories and how they can be like superimposed over here and sometimes even the maps too. But you still don't want to undermine completely some of the vast history of the rest of the world, because there is a lot of places that have like hard evidence that there's a lot of shit going on. But what we know about America is it's a fucking bunch of esoteric syncretic lies on top of shit. Like it's just symbolic shit just left and right. So yeah, no doubt.
To the choir. You guys know like everything that I've been saying. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just kind of like, you guys.
Man, you gotta speak your piece, bro.
Right, and we got to get it all on the table. This is a action-packed little show we're putting together. Homie, can you zoom in one more time? There's something I want to share with you. One more ingredient, right off of the tail feathers of Pablo.
Welcome to Decoder World, everyone. Welcome. This is how we ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, buddy. So right off of the tail feathers of Pavel is Ars Alteris. And Ars Alteris is a minor decade of Sagittarius. Is that? I want to be right. Yeah, it's a Sagittarius. It's just as we just passed through its minor decade degree as we left the old year behind. And so this is the sacrificial altar of the sky. And so the making of sacrifices to bring in the new year is signified by the station. This particular station, it's also a cauldron. This is also the sacred amphora, and I believe that this is one of the first. This is the initiation of the steam engine. There's a sacred inventor. his name's slipping my mind right now, but he invented something that looks just like this little furnace item, Ars Alteris, and it's a ball, a sphere that once it starts to boil, it spins itself. It's like a double-ended teapot that spins when it boils, and it generates energy. And so this Ars Alteris is also the first steam engine. So technically, this constellation is the train. This is the steam engine train of the sky as well. It's all integral to this one little sacrificial altar right here. And what is really mind-boggling is that last month we were hearing about the train unions were going to go on strike. Well, that headline was entered into our headlines right on cue for this constellation to roll over the horizon.
Nice. Yeah, that was kind of, yeah, that's a major weave, dude.
That's all I got, but I thought you would dig the Ars Alteris, homie, because you're always talking about the alchemy. And I just love that there's a sacred alchemical vessel right here next to Carl Jung's spot.
Yeah, Carl, I gotta get my hands. I have one book by Jung, but I need to get more besides all the stuff I read online, because I do love reading online, but also, like, you know, sometimes the power goes out. You're not able to get Wi-Fi, especially up here on the mountainside.
Does art imitate life, or does life imitate art in that regard? Because that's
I
one
know
and the same.
The more I learn, the more I learn, the more I'm like, is every damn thing also in the heavens? I mean,
Right.
everything. I was talking. I got to tell this story. So it's so good. I was talking to a fella about the Battle of Tippecanoe, and the Battle of Tippecanoe took place in Indiana, and there was a curse that was birthed out of that event. That the native tribe that tried to attack a colonial fort and were thwarted in their attack, they retaliated. They were defeated, but they retaliated by putting a curse on Tyler 2 and Tippecanoe. Tyler 2 and it's the first logo. It's the first slogan that any politician has ever used on American soil. So it's an initiation. It's a virgin sacrifice. It's a virgin offering. That it's the first slogan. And the word slogan, by the way, is the battle cry of the dead, which is very profound. It's very profound. That's the actual definition of slogan. But so that curse is put on the presidential bloodline. It's called the 0-year curse or the 20-year curse, and Joe Biden is lined up for it to hit him. And all we got to do is sneeze on that motherfucker. He's going to go down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everything's lining up, dude.
Nice.
Like, we live in the best times. Everything is lining up now because, I mean...
And they're totally setting it up for the prophecy to come true again. But what's profound is the individual who set that curse into motion is not the chief Tecumseh. He didn't put the curse on. It was his shaman who was his brother. And his shaman is an individual named Tenskwatawa. And Tenskwatawa is a very profound character. When you look at the artistic renditions of him, he's missing one eye. He has turkey feathers on his headdress, and he's wearing a moon-shaped mantle as his shamanic garb. And he is the one who put that curse into motion. And so I was talking to our buddy Kyle from Tippecanoe Herbs, and he was giving me the lowdown on this actual story. He shows me images of Tenskwatawa with his one eye missing and his turkey feathers in his headdress. And I said, this in his nickname is the Prophet. Tenskwatawa's nickname was the Prophet. And I said, this is really profound because it's totally reminding me of this Greek myth about Tiresias, who was struck blind by Hera, but given the power of prophecy by Zeus. And Hera is iconically depicted as the goddess of the peacock. That's one of her symbols. And she strikes people blind because she has to do with eclipse magic. If you look in an eclipse, you're going to go blind. And so I was just mentioning how much Tiresias's story parallels Tenskwatawa's
Dude,
story.
I stare at eclipses. I stare right at them when I can.
That's a trip. That's a trip. You're messing with Hera. So it blew my mind because I had that conversation about Tiresias and the peacock feathers corresponding with the turkey feathers of Tenskwatawa, the guy who made the curse. And then it was a week later that I found that constellation with the peacock right next to the only Native American constellation in the heavens named Indus. And so right then and there, we had Tiresias and Tenskwatawa fused together in the heavens and made immortal forever. And I can't wrap my head around what is fact, what is fiction, what is astrotheology, how is it that almost every myth I've ever heard has a heavenly correspondence? It blows the
Dude,
mind.
we're talking India. We're talking everywhere.
Right?
Yeah. There was
here's the Draco constellation. Yeah, apparently, like on this other map, it was showing Draco as like as the Polis where the Borealis is, right next to Ursa Minor. So you got the rainbow dragon.
Right. So now we're in the north. Draco is north, and the other one, Hydrus, that we were looking at, is south. So these are the two poles. And they have
straight up. And they got no birds over. I guess they do got this over here, but that's like more up in the. Close that.
Cygnus. Yeah, there's a lot of corresponding ingredients on the two poles. Like, there's a serpent at both poles that are super similar in their positioning. There's also a long-necked animal at both poles, because here we'll have a giraffe in the north, but down south we have the pavo, the peacock, who also has a long neck.
So, like, I gotta give you a disclaimer. I'm not a South Pole guy. I'll put it that way.
I hear you.
I'm a this guy. I'm a this guy.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that. But so when I'm just letting you know the filter that I'm hearing it through. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the South Pole is it's really something to try to fit in. You know what the fuck? And it's so forbidden. It's absolutely forbidden. We can't go there.
Bro, I mean, come on. You tell me I can't go somewhere. I want to go there. Don't do that. Don't touch it. It's hot. I'm gonna I gotta touch it once just to make sure it's hot. Like, hey, dummy. But
we might as well call it. We might as well call it the Barbara Streisand pole.
Yeah.
Who's a Sephira?
That is the Emperor card. He's got his wait. Yeah. Are you talking about this Emperor here? The king with the scepter?
I just like can't read his name. Yeah, this homie right here. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. That is so his name is Cephas, and he is the Emperor card number 4 of the tarot. It's also Han Solo. And he has one toe on Polaris. And that toe, trippy enough, the shape of his constellation is the shape of a manger or a ramshackled hut, a house that is just a little off kilter. So it is the manger that Christ was born in. And at the tip of the house-shaped manger, which is his toe, is the pole star. And so the 3 wise men following a star that made a dramatic left turn to find a manger where the Christ child was born was totally a decode of this constellation of the emperor here, king of the world, king of kings. And you'll notice the giraffe is actually interchangeable with camels. The name of the giraffe constellation
They're in the same animal family.
Yes. So 3 wise men showing up with camels next to a manger for the King of Kings to be born is a North Pole reference. The whole nativity scene is right here.
Camels have a whole lot of stuff attached to their mythos and their what involves camel. Like it's weird. Like you don't even know it. And then it's like there's a lot of stuff involved in camels.
Yeah, man. Zoroaster really actually means he who is rich with camels, or he who has the gold, the camels full of gold.
Are they talking about like the back fat, like the hump fat? There's something in, because I know they harvest hump fat.
Dude, if you look
Camel
into
hump fat.
and I thought the same thing, Romie, but then when I just more and more weird camel info came my way, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of involved in the symbology of it.
I've
And
seen
it's
some camels when I was tripping, when I was like on some psychedelics. I saw like camels
Yo, you
with
should look
stacked
into it.
eyes. It had like 3 levels of stacked eyes.
Yeah. That
And we've
sounds
got, and so
was
remember
nuts.
that I said that
That sounds cool.
this camel or this giraffe is correspondent with the pavo or the peacock. They're both long-necked animals. Their neck is kind of pointing at the pole star. And this is a trip and a half, because if the peacock corresponds with Hera, the goddess of Hera, and we have a vice president right now named Kamala Harris.
Whoa.
So she is an alchemical. Her name is an alchemical wedding for this
Cool. I'm not
long-necked
even-
animal on
I'm not
the
even
North
familiar
Pole.
with that name.
Oh
I'm
shit!
not
What does
even
that say
familiar.
right there? That says camel. You just said that Camelo Pabaris.
Hey,
Camelo Pabarus.
So she's basically the giraffe constellation right there by the pole star. And that's no coincidence. Kamala Harris, she is related to the artist who created the South Crawley deck.
so are
Lady-
you telling me this old astrology right there? Can you say that again, Romie? How do you say that word?
I'm looking it up right now. It's It's camel. Oh, here I'm sharing this screen.
And you're telling me that is so lines up with the vice president of the U.S.
Look how it's spelled right here.
Yeah, I can't even see, bro.
Camela.
Here, scoot over, slide it. Oh, Kamala.
Kamala Pardelis. Kamala Pardelis.
So if this is true, if this is factual, that it lines up with a current
Petrus
politician,
Planicus.
dude, if this lines up with a current
Petrus
politician,
Planicus,
right?
This thing was discovered in 1600s. You're telling me that's
no,
the time
no, bro. Think about it like this. It's like they're fulfilling a role because that's a current cycle of the star map right now.
That's
So
what
they
I'm
have
trying
to
to figure
fulfill
out,
that
dog.
archetype.
You think they wrote this script to lead us to here?
Human
think-
farming is real, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Like they'll just be
yeah.
able to, manipulate, be like, hey, you're gonna live this life and it's gonna be sweet
Yeah.
for you. You don't have any problems, right? No,
Yeah.
why would I have any fucking problems? It's gonna be easy for me.
So
Truman Show. Yeah.
let me weave real quick on Kamala Harris and her relationship to the artist who created the Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck. Lady Frida Harris is the artist who created that deck. She was a member of the Lady Masons. She's an incredibly interesting character. She's like a
Masons. I never even heard of the Lady Masons.
yeah. She's a patroness of the Thelemic order. And her father, this is a true, okay, so her genealogy disappears in India and Jamaica. And Kamala Harris's genealogy comes out of Jamaica and India. And if you look at Lady Frida Harris's father.
Android. Yeah, she's an android of some kind. Yeah, for sure.
So her father was a plastic surgeon for MI5, the old school British Secret Services. Okay, so taking people's face and changing it for them, and keeping their secrets for them, putting yourself in a position to know who's who, of changing their face forever. That makes you the master of MI5 SION, mission. MI5 SON spells mission. Impossible. MI5 Zion, impossible. Mission Impossible is all about changing people's faces, switching them out to keep their secrets, masks on masks on masks. And her father was the master plastic surgeon for MI5 back in the day. So she is in a position, her family is in a position to collect all the secrets of all the people that he's covered up and put new masks on.
You're talking cartel leaders. You're talking
and then leverage those secrets, those family secrets that they stored up, so their daughter can become the vicar, the cup the vice president, the cupbearer, the chalice
Yep.
bearer of the king, the right-hand man that the king gets to do whatever he
Shannon
wants to.
perhaps Shannon, in the chat, dude, I don't even like talking about these politicians because they are like, you know, the darkest dark, nepotism, cloning, trauma, like you name it. Like I don't even enjoy even discussing about them because the template is the same no matter what decade you're in. Decaying or whatever decaying you're in. I mean, these it's the same template. So that's why I don't want to be rude, but I just don't want to, like the Kamalas and the whoever's, I don't even want to give them my energy. I can decode any of them and it'll be a similar story. So that's why that makes sense, right? Like I don't want to go, did you hear about this guy and this guy? Like I don't even, I'm done. I'm actually done with Hollywood. Like I decoded Hollywood. Like I'm over it. Like I'm trying to go even deeper into that. Like, what's the fabric?
You gotta watch Stargate Atlantis, man. Just take your mind off of things.
I do that.
Such a good
I
show.
do that. Yeah.
Such a good
I like
show,
to watch the palette at night. So I'll watch something silly at night to cleanse the palate. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Thoth Crowley deck, I'm coming to understand on a very deep level that it is an inversion of all tarot decks, and it's being used in exactly the wrong way. So the standard tarot it's a relationship between the individual and the deck, but the Thoth Crowley deck is being applied to the masses, to the collective, and that is not how tarot is meant to be used. So they have infused our culture with one ring to rule them all. The Thoth deck is quite embedded into our pop culture, and it has become very much like this collective tarot reading, and that's not how the tarot is meant to be.
I feel the same about gematria. I feel like the ciphers are like almost controlled opposition, some of them.
Right, and everybody has their own favorite ciphers. I've noticed that too. Yeah, I resonate with septenary, ordinal reduced, and then ordinal. Not in that order.
I'm a Chaldean guy, but I'm also I take all of them into consideration, but I'm like, is this also controlled opposition? Like you're talking about the tarot, like is this inverted? The
Thoth deck is.
Yeah,
dude, there's been thousands, I'll say thousands of ciphers since all the languages have been created. There's been ciphers on each of them. So, it's like, just go with what you go, what feels good, because it's like, well, I mean, it's just by going, what calendar do you fucking go by? You know what I mean? But whatever gets your tummy tingling.
Yeah, man. And that's the power. That's the power. That's the power of respecting the individual. The fact that you got Chaldean under your belt, man, that is badass. And now I know who to go to if I got Chaldean-based questions, because I've actually seen Chaldean flip my lid sometimes, man. It hits.
It connects.
It fucking hits. And that blows my mind.
None of these are one only deals. You know what I'm saying? This is just one more data point to add to the merge of data. Like Chaldean isn't like the only thing ever at all. No, you combine it with the English ordinal and the full reduction and all that stuff. Sumerian, I don't really mess with too much, but maybe I'll add to it. But then I'll add dates and things. But what I find interesting is like Rome's was talking calendars. I feel like I operate on 1 million calendars at once. The Gregorian is just, what that's for. That's how I pay my bills. It's a commerce thing. I only care about the day because of money-related things. Silly, ridiculous, detached from nature. But I literally, my life is no different Saturday to Sunday, moon day, unless I am receiving energy like a full moon, the full wolf moon, or I'm receiving an eclipse, or I'm feeling this is going to happen. That's how I operate my time frame nowadays.
Yeah, man. Calendar is the call of the lender. It's a banker's tool.
The lender. Oh yeah. So My calendar is based on the seasons, man. I live on the nature, actually. The only time I don't live off nature is when I'm paying bills, which I can't stand. But I have to do it in this weird video game that we live in at this point.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
like calendars are interesting. The etymology, the ciphers, like you were saying, like thousands of ciphers.
Right.
This is my life's path, by the way, to my mission is to try and decode all this.
Yeah, man. So here, let's bring it back to dragons. So the word Bill, the word Bill means Lord. And the Lord Mayor of the City of London, Lord, is the lower order of the red dragon. Lord. And that hails back to the Welsh flag.
What about the word like Baylord?
That's
like
right. That's
Baylord
right, actually.
was
Holy
always,
shit.
like you add Baylord to it, Slick. It's almost like Ball Lord. It's almost like what you just said, but times a whole bunch. Like where it's like, I feel like I've heard Bail Lord in readings, but I'm sorry, I can't connect the dots right now. But that seems like a common, like powerful word. Like I'm a Bay Lord.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, you're in charge
Wait,
of.
did you say Bay or did you say Bill?
It's
Bay.
almost dumb.
Bay.
It's almost split tongue. It's like saying Lord. You know, Bayal means Lord.
Like super of a badass Lord, like Lord. Awesome Lord.
Right, Lord of Lords almost.
Lord of Lords.
No, I'm saying Bay. I'm saying Bay Lord. It's like one of those weird demonic, like almost like some crazy, like otherworldly, dynamic, powerful being that had an army. You know, but this is again, some of this is coming from fictional reading. Some of this is coming from like fictional reading. Okay, so unfortunately,
you got a good imagination, my bro. I fucking love it, baby.
That and dragons go hand in hand. So you gotta. I'm sorry. You know,
Indy, did we get you in trouble? Your lady didn't? Is she coming in objecting? She got something to add? She looked like you got in trouble.
Yeah, we both had to work today and like different schedules, so we didn't get to hang out at all. So
she's like, turn that shit down.
Well, no, it's been 3 hours, so we be rapping. But yeah, has anyone got any final feathered serpent, water worm, dragony, folklore stories that you want to drop upon us before we fucking sign on out here?
I got the 9 types of the Chinese dragons.
There we go.
We got the Tianlong, the celestial dragon that protects the celestial palace and carries it. The Shenlong, spiritual dragon, controls the wind, rainfall, and clouds and is blue. And mind you, the Chinese associate dragons, and as well as all pretty much the Eastern lore associates dragons with water. The clouds, the rivers, the ocean, the powers of water, and considered to be benevolent, not fierce and crazy. So, then we have Fukang Long, the dragon of hidden treasures. They live underground, protecting precious stones and strange materials, which is interesting to see in the Chinese lore. We have Di Lung, the dragon of the underworlds, dragon of the earth that runs rivers and streams, said to be feminine. Of the Shenlong, can mate with them. The Yinglong, winged dragon, according to the legend, was a faithful servant of the Yellow Emperor, who became the dragon forever. And we'll touch on that in a second too. Zhao Long, the name is very ambiguous. It can mean aquatic dragon, mother dragon, snake dragon, aquatic dragon resembling a reptile, and is mostly a primitive type. Then we have Panlong, the coiled dragon, water dragon similar to Xiaolong, and also controls time. And then we have finally the last two, Huanglong, the yellow dragon, who is said to that the Yellow Emperor became this dragon at the end of his life, and also said that the yellow dragon taught writing to the goddess Fu Si, and that she controls the seasons and time, its elements, its earth. Fu Si was said to have created humanity. She was a creatrix goddess. Although I think she was paired with Fu Si, who was the god, and her name was Nuwa. But we have Long Wang, the Dragon King, Actually, according to mythology, there were only 4 dragons, but each known to the Sea of China and live in glass palaces under the sea. They can also manipulate weather and cause rain, which ties us back to that rainbow dragon we were showing earlier, like around the fire area. So yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff, but yeah, I just want to touch on those 9 types. There's really 4 main types associated with the elements, but they touched on a couple more that were mentioned in literature and stuff.
That's badass. You know, the number 9 means serpent in Hebrew.
Yeah, this 9
really?
is with yang and the dragon and white, the color white.
Right.
No, that's funny because a lot of other stories I was finding on the European stuff, there are a lot of 7 symbolism. So I like to see the other numbers in there too. So 9 in Hebrew means does that just mean like feathered serpent or dragon? Is it the 9th letter in the Hebrew alphabet?
Its 9th letter is teth and means serpent. And so you can think, so you can think of that Moses raising the serpent up on that T-shaped cross, the T-shaped cross.
True.
It bears the copper serpent that healed the Israelites. It's kind of all intrinsic to that 9th letter. The
Yeah, that staff that he makes,
teth.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
they did that. They did that in Aladdin too. That staff that like Scar or Jafar. Yeah, Jafar has that that snake head staff that like
You're right.
hypnotizes everybody.
Totally.
Because we looked that story up too. Dan didn't get to bring it up, but he brought that story up before we were recording. We were like, what are we going to talk about? I was like, oh, that's such a good story. Yeah, there's so many. It's the dragons in the constellations. Dragons are serpents. Dragons are rivers. Dragons are in water. Dragons are women. Dragons are masculine. Dragons of alchemy. The dragon ley lines, magnetism, aurora borealis. Like, fuck. So it seems like it's everywhere. Like it's the creation story. The Orphic egg, and we're just living in a dragon's dream.
Yeah, man. You know, Indy, one more thing on that list you read. You know, the yellow dragon that ended up ruling forever.
Yeah.
Is the Analima. And the Analima creates the figure 8 that means forever. Is the eternity symbol. I love that. That was nice.
And I think Annelid is worm.
Oh, shoot. There we go. There we go.
In what language?
In Latin.
You know, well, so another fun little loopy weave I came across during the dragon stuff was, okay, I was like, oh shit, well, dragon means worm or worm means dragon in Old Norse and other European languages. And then, you know, you have Shafir's worm, Shepher's worm from Solomon and everything. But that classic motif of giving your teacher, the one who is your teacher, an apple, but that apple has a worm in it. It's like, you know, bookworm, or like, you know, in the apple, but the apple in the story of Adam and Eve, or, you know, the Garden of Eden, the serpent tells them not to eat the fruit, but the fruit is the apple. But then the serpent is a worm, the dragon is a worm inside the apple. So the apple is that Avalonian absolute truth of pure gnosis, knowledge from the internal thing. So it was funny, from a kid, we were told that story from the apple and the worm, which is symbolically means like eternal truth, and like, you know, battle your dragons basically in your apple when you give, you know, and your teacher you're giving. So I was like, holy shit. When I found out that worm meant dragon, that's where my mind went, with the apple and the worm.
And Avalon is like the Apple Island, or Island of Apples. Dragon.
Straight up.
So that reminds me of one of my favorite jokes as a kid was, what's grosser than gross? When you when you bite into an apple and you find a worm, what's grosser than that? So when you bite into an apple and you only find half of a worm.
That's true.
It's gonna go retro. Oh, you guys ever had a parasite, like by drinking dirty water or anything?
Oh no, I've seen pictures of like giant parasites in the Dasani bottle.
Hoorah.
Dude, I'm drinking out of rivers, man. Just straight up drinking out of rivers, and I never got parasites at all. I think I
Nice.
You gotta look out for Giardia sometimes, but you
Yeah,
guys.
straight up.
I mean, as a kid, we would go hiking, no preparation. We would just climb that mountain and then go, oh, we got to go back. You know what I mean? So now you're like no supplies. I've done that hundreds of times, and I'll drink out of a river, no problem.
They say that it's if the certain amount of feet, the filtration happens through like the moss.
I think so.
And water rushing at a certain temperature. So it just depends. If you're where I grew up in the deep woods of Washington State, where it is green as a motherfucker. And we had a lot of creeks, and we go play Pokemon Cafe down by the water. You know, we'd be serving Pokemon, come in our little restaurant. Me and my friend run over to the back of the kitchen. Oh my God, Charmander wants a grilled cheese sandwich and a side of popcorn. And you're like, oh shit, I'm sweating over here. What about Mewtwo? Anyways, but we would see ginormous fucking beaver. Like the beavers I would see when I was a kid were huge, dude. And so yeah, I was scared of Giardia because I'd heard homies that got it. But you know, you got to check your source. You know what I'm saying? If your intuition is telling you the water is safe to drink, do it,
you
man.
ever jump in
there's
like
a
a
place
quarry?
in Shasta.
You ever jump off into a quarry? I'll just drink that water.
Into a stone quarry?
Yeah, totally.
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's like
I'll drink that water. It seems pretty fresh to me. I don't know. It seems fresh.
Yeah. If there's
I'll
not dead shit around, like an automatic, like smelly, stinky ass fucking algae, like you'll probably be fine, you know. If it's
I'm not saying I'm just guzzling it. I'm just saying, I'm a little parched. I'll drink some of it. I'm not, you know what I mean?
You live down south, dude. You guys got mad aquifers, bro. Up here, dude, like I know homies get parasites in Northern California because of
here you can literally find the source of the water. Like, just go, where's the source of this stream that is, by the way, jewel colored, lime green, turquoise colored? Oh, it just comes from 5 feet from under the ground right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's some weird, also mysterious stories around here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to drink that because I'm only like 2 feet away from the source.
Right.
I'm gonna drink it. You know, I'm not gonna take it home, but you know.
How about that naturally carbonated water that comes out of the ground? Like there's this place in Oregon near Malala Springs. Yeah, me too, bro.
That sounds badass.
I mean, I like to drink it on accident when I fucking crash on a wave, you know. But
yeah, dude, I'll go swim in the ocean. I'll just drink a little bit. Again, I'll just literally like maybe the equivalent of a handful, and I just want the salt water in here because I want the inside and the outside to balance. That's how my brain works. I'm like, I want the buoyancy. I want salt water in for the digestion and and then I'm vibing with this ocean,
electrolytes, man.
The electrolytes.
So
but, you know, no problem.
I got a little story to share because you mentioned quarries.
Gross. If it's gross, obviously we're not drinking any of this stuff, you know.
So the mention of quarries and the mention of checking for dead things brings up kind of a cool story from my college days. We had a stone quarry we used to go jumping, cliff jumping at. And there were all heights. There was like a 90-footer, there was a 60-footer and a 40-footer. But way off on the far side, there was like 100-foot cliff. And then nobody jumped from that one. But
you gotta wear your shoes. You gotta wear your shoes, dude. No barefoot.
Yeah, hardcore. There were some divers would come out there and do tricks and shit. It was amazing. But on the 100-foot cliff that nobody jumped from, you could go over and you look over the edge and you look straight down in this quarry. Now this is in Indiana, where the old bootleggers and Al Capone, in the old mobster days, there is like an old Model T car in the water at the bottom of the 100-foot cliff. It's on its side, and the driver's side door is wide open. And you can see into the car through the water. The car was so ancient, it was like screaming out like some mystical story. So we would just make
It's
shit
like
up for
Jimmy
the new
Hoffa.
guys.
Are you telling me Jimmy Hoffa right now?
Yeah, we were always making up shit for the new guys. We were like, yo, go look over the edge right there. Go look. And they would be like, what? And then we just make some shit up for how it got there.
If you
So
dove off of
different
that,
story every time.
because I gotta, dude, quarry jumping's the best, man. And that water's good. I think it
Mhm.
lies with the stones.
Fuck glory holes. I'm looking for Corey holes, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Fellas, this was a power weave, man. This was crazy good. I don't think we missed any dragons. I think we got all the dragons in one go.
Dude, I mean, I got like 6 more slides with other we didn't touch on there's Australian dragons, island dragons.
I promise to shut up if you want to rip through them. If you want to rip through it,
I'm getting out of here. I got soup to make, baby.
Hey, Indy, my brother, did anything I say make any sense tonight?
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
I had to be thinking some. Dig it, man. You're expanding the mind.
I needed a third party.
Thank you. I'm gonna say to the Nano though, bro. I didn't understand. Damn lick. I'm playing. That was a fountain of youth, son. Fountain of youth. No, dude, it's all beautiful vibes. Thank you guys for shining. Please plug your stuff away, pluggity plug, and give a virtually huggity hug.
All right, check me out. I'm Indy Sage. You can check me out on my blog, vibetribescribe.wordpress.com. You can check me out on Facebook at Indy Sage or on Instagram at Raw Sentinel. Thanks, guys.
Nice. Yeah, peace, brother.
Peace.
Man, thank you, everyone. Romie, it's always an honor to hang out with you, man. Indy Sage, where you going? Where you going? These guys like, man, I got to zig and zag.
He's gonna fight the dragons.
You got it, man. Indy, it's always an honor to rock with you, man. Thank you. You're a high vibe being. I love your smile. Your smile brings a smile to me, so thank you, brother. And Slick, you're awesome too. Gabe, Romie, you're great. Thank you. You can come holler at me in Rising from the Ashes Telegram. You know what I'm saying? So come join that where Romie spits and Dan and all these guys, these veterans in this game of the realm, share this amazing information. I'm so honored to even be here. So boom. Thank you. Peace and harmony. I'm out. Thank you.
Hell yeah, bro.
Nice. Yeah, big love, fellas. This was so much fun. My face hurts. My damn face hurts. Yeah, Slick Dissident is my YouTube channel name. Get down with the Weaving Spiders Welcome. New name, Weaving Spiders Webs. We do our thing all night, Saturdays into Sundays. Pack your homuncule lunch, take a nap so you can be in it for the long haul. And I also get down with Chance Garton over on the Interverse podcast on Rockfin YouTube. Check us over there. And I'm getting down with Juan on Juan all the time nowadays. I'm over on his side a lot. So there to find me.
We got the Dopamine Deep Dives, Patreon only, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But this has been a lot of fun. My channel's on hiatus for a little while. I'm taking a break. The projects just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so, yeah. But, come check out. I call it my shared learning experience. I'm just a teacher and a student all in one.
It's a good attitude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude. Cheers. Dragons. Dragon breath all day. Going hammy. Much love, y'all. Peace.
Peace.